Welcome back to the FASTLIFE podcast, which is brought to you by Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Simpson is continuously putting out solid, well-built, lightweight motorcycle helmets that not only keep your ass safe, but give you that aggressive, badass look Simpson has been known for many years. Check them out at simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com as well as Simpson Motorcycle Helmets on Instagram. On today's episode, we have none other than The Goo. Jerry out of Huntington Beach, California. He has a killer-ass road glide, but I started following this dude a long time ago when he was doing FXR stuff, and been a big fan ever since, and he's been on the Speed Kings podcast before. Great dude. Had a great time with him, me and Jaden out on our trip in California, and I really hope you enjoy this podcast. So before we get into it, let's do these sponsors, and then we're going to jump right into this episode. House of Harley Davidson, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, has your HD covered with the performance upgrades we all want, along with service, sales, and a stacked parts department. Head on over to houseofharley.com where you can order the parts you need for your bike, along with all the best gear and clothing available. Drop the FASTLIFE offer code to save yourself 13% on your online purchases, and give these guys a follow at House of Harley on Instagram. Lexin Moto is my Bluetooth headset company and has been for over 3 years now. The quality and sound and battery life make those long days on the open road much more enjoyable. Their latest headset, the G16, is designed to make group rides much better with a 16-rider comm system, Bluetooth 5.0 music sharing, and fast USB-C charging. Among the many things Lexin does for our motor community, they also offer the best customer service in the industry. The team at Lexin just dropped their new Lexin Smart Tire Pump as well, which is a portable tire pump that can fit easily in your saddlebags. Check out lexin-moto.com to see all the awesome products, which are all designed to make life on two wheels better. And don't forget to drop the FASTLIFE offer code at checkout to save yourself 15%. And lastly, give these guys a follow on Instagram at lexin-moto. thundermax and their ECM computers are designed to provide your EFI-equipped Harley Davidson with the most advanced auto tuning on the market. And they just released their modules for the 2021 and up HD models. A thundermax ECM eliminates tuning hassles when upgrading your exhaust or air cleaner, or when adding a cam or big bore kit. thundermax is also in the suspension game with their iRide rear suspension. This is a performance air ride, which gives you the ability to adjust many aspects from the handlebar mounted touchscreen. This rear suspension is the best of both worlds. Check out these products at shoptmax.com and use offer code FASTLIFE to save yourself 10% off, and follow thundermax EFI on Instagram. I have been riding with Lucky Dave's seats and handlebars on almost all my bikes since 2016, and I'm happy to announce their partnership with us here at the FASTLIFE podcast. Their seats have always been the perfect fit for my ass, and with that trademark styling that I have come to love from the LD brand. Lucky Dave's also has some of the most dope handlebar options, from their classic San Diego bar to their Peacemaker bar and riser combos. They got what you need. I'm personally running the Peacemaker bars on both my T-Sport and Bagger. Head on over to luckydaves.com to check out all of their options for your HD, and grab yourself some swag while you're there. And lastly, give my guys a follow on Instagram at Lucky Daves. Now let's get this started with The Goo.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
FASTLIFE podcast.
Popular, and they just kind of started touring again and did a show last week, and they got one coming up in Texas somewhere. But so he plays this music, it's just death screaming metal, and when he's here, I don't touch the music because it's his gym, his music. Yeah. But as soon as he leaves, I put some Bad Religion or something a little more mellow. Yeah. And every time I go home, I'll put like Neil Diamond or something mellow, James Taylor. I'm like,
just decompress.
I know.
Listen to classical on the way home.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy the shit out of it.
That's got to be fucking wild to work in a gym, though. I mean, goddamn.
You know, the nice thing about it is
This one's legit.
when I retired, for the first couple of years, I didn't really. I had a job doing. Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I did a job where I was basically going across country grabbing addicted kids. The parents would sign over their rights to the kids, and we would come get them and take them to rehab clinics. And take them all over the country to, Utah, Florida. And it got to the point where it was becoming too much like my other job. And, they would fight and chase, down the street, and it got old. So I stopped doing that. And then when I started working out here, when the pandemic hit, he kind of remained open under the radar a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so he asked me one day, he goes, "Hey, you interested in the job?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could do a couple of days a week." I go, "I don't want to work full time." And he goes, "Yeah, the kid I have is, he's got school, he's always calling out sick." And so we agreed on just doing 2 days a week, and which is nice because Lisa, she works from home. And she doesn't want me at home all the time when she's making phone calls and doing Zoom, interviews and things like that. So this keeps her from wanting to murder me in my sleep, because it's nice to have a little bit of separation.
Yeah.
So I come here and I work 4 hours every, couple days, and I get to train for 2 hours before I actually do my job.
Yeah.
Which really isn't a whole lot besides just toilet paper and selling shirts and things. And
oh, yeah.
So I get to remain healthy and get paid to work out like a professional athlete that I'm not, but
that's awesome.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I'm still hoping. I've been paying for a gym membership for 4 years now. Never walked in.
Just giving them your money?
Yeah, just in case the one day I get that wild hair.
Well, I tell you what, it's once you get into a routine and have some consistency and you start seeing results, then it becomes addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell that people all the time is just, even if you work out 3 days a week, just 3 days a week is better than none. And then eventually, that turns into 4 days and then maybe 5 days. And, and it's hard though when you've got a full-time job.
Yeah.
To put 2 hours in training, because especially working 8 to 5, and who wants to work out at 6 o'clock in the morning, or at 6 o'clock at night when it's packed? They just want to go home. So since I'm retired, every day is Saturday. I don't have a whole lot to do. My calendar is typically pretty open, which is nice for doing all our long distance rides and all that stuff too. And
so when did you really start getting into shape, or has it just been something you maintained most of your life?
I played sports growing up, so I worked out a lot for football and all that. And then with work, I stayed in shape with that for pretty much most of my career. And then, I'd have bouts where I would take 6 months off and get kind of chunky again and skinny arms, and and then I get motivated and I start working out again. So I've probably been going pretty consistently for the last 7 years, and I'm probably in better shape now than I was in my 20s and 30s, because now I got time to dedicate it, and nutrition's huge. Mm-hmm. Half the battle, like 75% of the battle's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because we, drinking beers and snacks and, it just eating like shit, it catches up to you, especially when you get older.
So my excuse and my problem is it's mainly I drink way too much, and it's not always out of choice. Like, I say I drink too much. My boys over here kick my ass all the time we go out. But the thing is that so on Monday I'm like, cool, I'm not drinking tonight, and then Tuesday is bike night, so I'm like, fuck, you gotta have a whiskey at bike night, and then Wednesday I got a podcast, and I'm like, well, what do you drink, sir? Like, I'm always like, hey, what do you need for the studio? What do you need to be comfortable? So I'm like, and I'm like, are you sober? You're not sober?
Right.
If you're sober, then I'm cool. I'm not drinking tonight, But it gets hard, I'm trying. I'm excited, man, because this trip after this is going to be kind of like a cusp of less paint and more podcasting, which is going to be more free time, hopefully.
Right.
And then hopefully that can induce some type of schedule of working out.
Oh yeah, it's just a matter of finding the time, and if you dedicate it and are serious, you can find the time, even if it's 45 minutes, and so, you talk about drinking. So I've cut down on my alcohol consumption quite a bit. And so my nutritionist, we were talking about one day and like, I can't put any size on. I have trouble sleeping. I snore like a train all night long, and Lisa gets pissed at me. And so he goes, okay, let's break down how much you drink. And I'm like, all right. He goes, what do you drink at night? And I said, well, typically a couple beers with dinner, or if I'm barbecuing.
Yeah.
And then after that, and I shower, then I transition to whiskey. And he's like, well, how many whiskeys do you have a night? And I go, well, typically 2. And he goes, he says, well, are they healthy pours or are they light pours? I go, I don't know. I just put a couple of ice cubes in it and I pour it till it's full and I drink it and I have another one. So he had me go home and actually pour what I typically pour into shot glasses, and I discovered that I was probably drinking 6 or 7 shots per glass.
Damn.
And then he had me do the calculations of like how many calories of whiskey are you drinking a night, based on those numbers. So it was like 14,000 calories a month just in whiskey that I was drinking. And he's like, no wonder you can't sleep. No wonder you're fidgety. No wonder you snore, and he goes, no wonder you can't put size on like you used to, because he goes, this stuff is poison. And so when we kind of put it to me that way, then I kind of took a step back.
Yeah.
And now typically, tonight's different, but, I drink once a week. I'll pick a Friday night or Saturday night, and I'll have a couple whiskeys, and then I drink water for the most of the week, and so that really helped dial back, especially the weight gain, because, I've always carried it like around my love handles, and, it's a constant battle. And that all comes down to just eating in the kitchen too.
Yeah.
Which is hard because, especially like on the road, when you're doing this 3 weeks on the road, or have, a month, whatever you are, you can't prepare or pre-pack your meals. You're stopping at fast food places, you're eating at restaurants, it's horrible. And so you come back 25 pounds heavier than you left.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm still, because we've stayed in a couple of places, like Leslie's had a scale. I was like, okay, I'm still in the same boat that I was when I left, but we are eating way worse, but I don't eat as much because I'm doing something all day. As when I'm home and I'm in and out of the shop, I'm like, I need a snack. I need another Monster, Red Bull, or some shit like that. So, but no, I'm hoping that with my mass, if you will, that I'm hoping that I can actually turn. I'm not really concerned about being yoked or anything like that, but just feeling a little bit better and being able to not bulge out the bottom half of my shirt is kind of the main thing I'd like to get away from.
So it hangs like a curtain, so it's nice and flush.
When I sit down like this, it doesn't look like my entire body is tripoded into my stomach.
Right, like Homer Simpson.
Exactly.
Well, once you start losing some weight, I tell everybody, you feel better, your clothes fit better, you sleep better, and it's cheap horsepower.
Yeah.
You jump on your bike and you've lost 20 pounds, you had to spend $5,000 in carbon fiber to lose 20, so it just makes sense. So your bike's faster, and if you got back problems, it typically you get rid of some of the front weight, it makes the back feel a little better. So I mean, it's a win-win.
That's cool.
And plus, I don't know, you have kids?
Yes.
You want to be around for your kids. You want to walk them down the aisle. So think about that, because every day you don't work out or you refuse to work out is a day you don't get back.
Yeah.
You never get it back. You lost that day. It's done. So, that's the way I look at it. If I feel like shit or I don't want to work out, I force myself, because I know if I don't and I lay on the couch, I'll feel guilty.
Yeah.
And I'll hate myself. And so I just get.
Well, that's why I need to get to the point where I do feel like that if I don't. Right now, I'm like, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I feel guilty when I don't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to chill today. I'm not going to do anything. I feel horrible after that, but I haven't trained myself yet for that. But that's the hope, man. Like, I'm full of excuses. I got everyone under the book, and I'm pretty proficient at all of them.
Sure.
But at the same time, I do, I'm turning 40 in 2 months, and that's one of the things that this year has been like, okay, everything I've been procrastinating on in my life, make steps, fix it, or make steps towards fixing it. Right. So then, the cool thing is it's funny that we're in a gym doing a podcast, drinking beer, and I just had McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's and drinking some beer. So,
and I got a cookie waiting on me on the bike when I get done here.
Oh, nice. Well, if you're gonna ruin the day with a poor diet, you might as well go all out.
Yeah. Go hard or go home. Is that what your shirt says or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't see it.
My chest is too big. I can't see it.
My chesticles are getting in the way.
Well, I like calling you the Goo more than Jerry, because I've known you as the Goo way longer than I've known you as Jerry, and I think that's a way cooler name, personally.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you get a name like that? I think I've heard of it on the Speed Kings podcast.
Yeah, so probably, 25 years ago, I was married, and it was my ex-wife at the time and her brother, my brother-in-law. We went to the LA County Boat Show, and because we had just bought a place in Parker, Arizona, so you need a boat. And
but Parker's like on the border, right?
Right.
Like north of Blythe or something like that?
Yeah, right there. So off the 95. And
didn't some other West Coast chopper guys go move up there, I believe? Like after, like some people that work there, I think live there now. Or used to work at the Long Beach spot.
I don't know. I don't know. So we're at this boat show, and the salesman, he's trying to upsell us on every doodad on this boat, and it was like a 21-foot ski boat, and it came with just your standard 350 motor, Chevy 350, and we were pretty much committed to buying this boat, and all of a sudden he looks at the two guys, me and my brother-in-law, he goes, you know what? He goes, to really make this boat next level, he goes, you need to put a 496 high output motor in it. And of course we're like, well, how much is that? Because obviously every upgrade it comes with money. And he goes, and he tells us the price, and then he goes, you know what? He goes, if you do that motor, he goes, this boat's going to be the Goo. And at first, I didn't register what he said. Yeah. And so my brother-in-law, like a minute later, he goes, what's the Goo? He goes, like the shit. It's like top notch. And so we end up signing and buying the boat, and as we're walking away, he looks at me and he goes, you're the Goo. and it stuck. And so it's been that way ever since. It's stupid. It's a stupid nickname.
How many people like call you that though? And like,
oh yeah, I mean most people, especially because of Instagram, they only know your persona from what you put out there.
Exactly.
So they don't know my first name. So I get people, Goo, it seems like wherever I go, I could be standing in line at a bank and somebody recognizes me, or bike shows. They all like, we don't even know your first name. I'm just gonna call you the Goo. I'm like,
yeah.
I prefer that. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Well, that's rad, man. So, born and raised here, worked here, college here. Not hard to find motorcycles here. You know what I'm saying?
No. I started off, when I first was looking at getting any type of motorcycle, I was probably 10 or 11 years old, and I remember at the time, my dad had dune buggies, and we were going off-road and going to Glamis, Octavia Wells, and all that. And so I remember we walked onto a Suzuki lot or whatever it was, and all I wanted was like a little LT80 motorcycle. That's what I want. And my dad's like, you know what? He goes, motorcycles are too dangerous. He goes, I don't want you having one. So, I was bummed. I didn't have the money to pay for it. So like a week later, I come home and he bought me and my little brother a little ATC 110 three-wheeler. He goes, these are much safer than motorcycles. And at the time, I didn't know any better. And I'm like, okay. And of course, the first time I ever take it out, I put my foot down, I roll over and roll my ankle and sprain it because it gets run over from the back tire. And I'm like, how is this safer? Yeah. This is dumb. He goes, well, you don't have to balance. So we rode three-wheelers for a couple of years, and then eventually that transitioned into quads and then dirt bikes. And then at the time I was kind of diddling with street bikes a little bit. My old roommate had a little FJ 1200 that I would steal out of the garage when he'd go to work. And at the time, there was no helmet laws, so I'd be my Levi's, a white tank top, and Oakley blades, and I'd be hauling ass down PCH thinking I was all cool.
Cold as ice over here.
Cold as ice, yeah. So, and then eventually, I ended up getting a Sportster, and I was riding that for a while. Did a bunch of stuff on that, and then I got another Dyna. I rode that for a while, and then at the time, I had just gotten to know Jesse James, and because I was friends with Chip Foose. And so Jesse, and they would work together at Performance Machine for a while and a couple other shops. So I saw him at the gym, and I'm like, and I never really talked to the guy, and because he's doesn't want to be bugged. Yeah. And so I was talking to Chip, and I go, man, I'd really like to build one of those little CFLs. And he's like, yeah, let me make a phone call. So he calls him, and he's like, yeah, he said, call him tomorrow. So next day I see him at the gym, and I actually approach him, and we start talking, and we hit it off. And come to find out, our kids go to the same school at that time. Yeah. So he ended up giving me a smoking deal on this little CFL frame. It was just tank fenders.
Yeah, like almost a roller kind of thing.
Just that. It was like it was a special, and he gave me some price on it, and gave me a smoking deal just because he knew I was friends with Chip. And so I started kind of putting it together. And at that time, I really didn't know how to work on motorcycles other than dirt bikes and off-road stuff. So I was kind of winging it. And I got to a point where I got it to a roller because Chip had given me the rims. Chopper Dave bought me the motor. Have you heard of a guy named Chica?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chica, I bought a transmission through him because he was in Huntington as well.
Yeah.
And I get to a point where it's a roller, and I've run out of talent. I don't know how to set the chain up. I don't know how to do any of that. And I'm like,
was this like the early 2000s or like late 90s?
No, that was 2005.
Okay.
And so I hit Jesse up. I go, hey, if I bring my bike down, can you set, can you align my primary and the chain and do all that for me? He's like, yeah, bring it down. So I trailer it down there and drop it off, and like a week later, I get a phone call from a guy named Bill, who was his manager there at the time. He goes, hey, Jesse wants like $1,500. And I'm like, for what? And he goes, well, he wants to put some parts on your bike. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I run down there, I drop $1,500 off. And like 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Jesse. He's like, hey, come get your bike, it's ready to go. I'm like, okay, cool. So I drive down there, and as I pull up, it's sitting outside his shop. It's running. It's been wired. It's got mid controls, hand controls. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a functioning bike.
Yeah.
And I had rattle cam the frame black, and the only thing that didn't have any, the seat was just the pan. It didn't have any leather on it at the point. Yeah. And I'm like, what'd you do? And he's like, I got your bike running. So he took a roller and basically donated all these parts, and then I gave him a little bit of money for whatever he had to buy.
Yeah. But
a lot of the parts were off the shelf stuff that he had blemishes or whatever. So he had the whole bike put together, got it running, and was sitting there. And I'm like, what do I owe you? He's like, nothing.
Wow.
So I'm like, holy crap, and so I take it home and I get the seat made and do all that. And I rode that around for a few years until I went through my divorce. And then I ultimately ended up selling it to some Japanese gangster. So I had another friend of mine who worked for a shipping company. He goes, yeah, I got connections in Japan. He's a Japanese guy. He goes, I'll find a buyer for it. And so it was I don't remember the name of the Japanese club. It was some hardcore club. And so I sold it for pretty good money, because at the time the Japanese were paying good money for motorcycles. They still are. Motorcycles, old cars, Levi's. Levi's were big back then. So I made money on this bike, but before I sold it, I called Jesse. I go, hey, this is what's going on. I said, I want to give you first right at this bike. You put a lot of money into it, a lot of parts that you didn't have to donate.
Yeah.
He's like, I've been through a divorce. He goes, do what you got to do. And he was super cool about it. So I was super bummed when I had to sell that bike.
Yeah.
And I still miss it. And a couple of years ago, I started making phone calls to my buddy who shipped it. And I was going to try to hunt it down and see if it was still out there running. So I got an email address to somebody. And of course, I sent the email, and they didn't know what I was talking about. And then Cheek had made some phone calls and said, he goes, I found your bike, and it's some guy has it, and he's in a club, and they're not getting rid of it. I'm like, fair enough. So I tried.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know what it would cost to ship a bike from Japan back this way.
Yeah.
It probably would have been more money.
Import fees might be retarded.
Yeah. So when I sold it, I kind of got back into the off-road world for a while, because that was my main.
Does the guy in Japan, does he know the history on it? And
that I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is he walking around going, dude, check out what I have?
Well,
listen to the story on this.
Yeah, but probably. I mean, because Jesse's name is huge
the CFL
there.
Frames,
he sells all his T-shirts and everything there, and and so Jesse did me a solid on that. I'll never forget that from him.
Yeah,
It was super cool of him. He didn't know me at the time. It was just some dumb idiot, and helped me out. Just because I knew somebody that he knew, so it worked out well. And so then I got back into the off-road world, and back on two-wheelers on the dirt, and then I started missing the bike. So at the time, my cousin's husband had passed away, and he had an anniversary Dyna, 2003, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So she kept it at my house after he passed, and so she's like, ride it. One day I'll get around to selling it. So I rode it for a couple of years, and then she ultimately sold it. And then I was working with, I got to know Bronny Built from Speed Merchant.
Yeah.
And so he had he had a friend of his who had an old Dyna sitting there. And it was a roller. It had fresh paint. It had a 120R motor in it, a Baker 6-speed. And I'm like, whose is that? And he goes, oh, it's my buddy Dennis's. And I knew Dennis because he used to work at Todd Cycles back in the day. I'm like, does he want to sell it? And he's like, I don't know. He goes, this thing's been sitting here just collecting dust for probably a year or two. He goes,
wow.
So he calls him, and Dennis is like, yeah, I'll sell it. So I end up buying it off him. Brandy gets it running for me. We get it all set up and running. And so I'm riding it for a while. And then I got to know Yaniv from Power Plant, because my stepdaughter was dating one of his mechanics. So we were up there all the time seeing him, and then I started watching I started looking at all his FXRs. I'm like, oh man. I go,
Yeah,
and Lisa's like, oh my God, it's going to start again. You're going to build another bike. And so at that time, Lisa's FXR, which was her mom's, she has a 93 FXR lowrider. So her mom rode that in Colorado for 25 years and probably put over 100,000 miles on that bike. And at the time, back in 1994, when she first bought the bike, it had a couple hundred miles on it, was used. Mm-hmm. She found a painter called Don Holmes, who was kind of an up-and-coming airbrush artist that lived in Colorado and I think Arizona. It kind of went back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think this was the first tank that she ever airbrushed. And she killed it. I mean, you've seen the tank, and it's beautiful. And so when Lisa's mom she wanted a different bike, so she kind of put the bike in the garage. She bought a lowrider or something else, and it sat there for 5 or 6 years. And I remember we flew back there and we're talking, and we were at her brother's house, and I go, hey, where's that FXR at? And she's, it's under the blanket in the garage. So for like the next 3 hours, I'm out there wrenching on it, trying to get it running. And I just fell in love with the bike, and I go, what are you going to do with this? She goes, I'm not going to sell it. I go, can I buy it from you? And she's like, no. She goes, I'm not going to sell it to you. She goes, well, how about this? She goes, I'll just give it to Lisa. And so like 3 weeks later, she had the bike shipped out to us and gave it to Lisa, her daughter. And so got it up and running and used Bronny built to build pipe, and then it ultimately ended up at Uni's, and he did some work on it. And then the more I rode that thing around, I wanted to do an FXR, so I ended up selling my Dyna, finding an FXR, and that's the one that everybody knows. And so I had that for 5 or 6 years. And
you ran like a couple different fairings on it, because you went from a full fairing to
I went from no fairing to a little mini, like a little sporty fairing, to a T-Sport, to an FXRP fairing. That bike probably went through five transitions because I get bored real easily.
Yeah.
And I always want to do something new. So I spent a lot of money on that bike, a lot of time, but it was a fun.
It was like the right time, right place, because I feel like when the FXR was sweeping the country, I mean, obviously for the 100th time in its existence, right? But when that style was sweeping the country, it was like your bike and Lisa's, seeing y'all together riding place. Like I said, I was kind of, for lack of a better term, starstruck of the first time I ever went to Born Free was 17. Mm-hmm. 17. And I rode my FXR to it. And I remember seeing yours. It was in the show,
right?
The FXR show. And at first, for me, like I liked all the FXRs that had the wild paint. It was more up my alley. And but I could appreciate just a clean FXR,
right?
Clean factory looking. You had a blue one for a while, right? Wasn't it blue?
It was blue. It started off as black, and then I transitioned to blue, and then it ended up putting bags on it. I found some old KZ 1000 police bags that are at the time I didn't realize were an exact replica to the P bags. Yeah, same bolt holes and everything. These were brand new. Tony from Landspeed, Tony had them in his shop. They were brand new in a box, never been used. And so we did some horse trading, and I ended up giving him my P bags, and then he gave me those. And I think we just straight swapped. And of course, that really just made the bike look that much better, because it's hard to find clean P bags anymore that are all beat up and scratched up. Right. So these things, they popped right into the holders, and they're like, okay, those look tits. Those look awesome. And but then I kind of started getting bored with that bike, and then. Which seems to be a common theme with me. I get antsy and want to build something else, and I blame that on my dad. My dad taught me all that, so that's all his fault. So at that point, I bought my first Road Glide, and it was the 2018. I had a white one, so I had both bikes, and riding them both, and it got to the point where I was neglecting the FXR, or I was riding the FXR more than I was the Bagger, and I'm like, why do I have two bikes? This is stupid. So I sold it, and then which I ultimately wish I hadn't have done, because I ended up buying the 2020 that I have now. Yeah, like I went full circle and ended up buying a new one. Yeah, and so when I got that bike, I knew I was done with the FXR, and so I ended up putting it up for sale, and I think I forget what I asked. I kind of put it up kind of a high price, and I get a text message from my buddy Lauren in Mesa. And he's like, hey, Danny Dixon wants to buy your bike. And he goes, I'm going to give him your number. I'm like, yeah, sure. So like 2 minutes later, I get a text message from Danny going, "Hey," he goes, "I want your bike. I'll send you the check right now." You know, it didn't even haggle. I'm like, sweet, you know. So it went quick, and then I bought the 2020. I turned around, bought that bike, and then dove into it, and now it's just a money pit. You know,
It is a money pit, though.
just like everything else, you know. And it's currently in pieces right now at Holden's shop over at Speed Kings, getting a new front end put on it, and a trash swing arm, and you know, and everything I said I wasn't going to do, and here I am doing it.
It's addicting. It's fun, man.
It is fun. You know, at least the way I tell Lisa, I go, you know, I'm not at strip clubs. I'm not wasting money. I go, I'm putting on a motorcycle, which it's not a great investment. It's actually a pretty crappy investment.
Yeah.
But it keeps me busy. It keeps a smile on my face, and I'm having fun with it.
Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Pull me right back in, you know. So I think once the current upgrades are done, I'm just going to just ride it for a while, enjoy it, and you know, and ride it as it's been intended, you know. And
well, how was it like, you know, jumping back on the FXR? I mean, you have this all-star team of shops out here, from Yaniv to everybody that you just mentioned, Speed Kings. You know, I think Todd Cycles is kind of a ghost.
Yeah, he's in Hawaii now.
He lives there, but his business still operates here, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know, I haven't met what was it? Speed Merchant guy yet? Brandon. Okay, Brandy.
Well, his online name is Brawny Built.
Okay.
But his first name is Brandon.
Brandon. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so I haven't met him yet. But what was it like being a part of this scene in the LA? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? It seems so connected, yet I don't know how.
You know, it's you know, I mean, LA from Huntington Beach, it's, you know, it's not that far a drive, but it's different worlds. You know, I mean, LA is all about look at me, you know, who do you know type thing, and I don't really like the vibe in LA. I hate the traffic. Whenever I have to go down the 101 or anywhere near LA, I'm cussing up a storm. I just hate everybody when I get down there, and I couldn't live there. But there's so many talented people that live in that area, you know, and if you want good work, quality work, you know, you got to make that drive sometimes, you know, and right now, like Steve was speaking, you know, he's Riverside, you know, it's 45 minute to an hour drive for me, you know, and I buy all my parts through Steve, and you know, because I try, like with my friends, whether they work on my bike or I try to buy parts from them, I try to spread their wealth a little bit, because you know, and it's hard to spend money with everybody. But at least I make it an attempt, because you know, I've got the money to spend sometimes, so I like to spend it with people that are good people. You know, I've had bad experience with some couple other people that I won't mention that I'll never spend money with again. Yeah. You know, I mean, if I never saw them again, I'd be
even better.
It wouldn't be, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Yeah. But you know, there's so many talented people that are up in the LA Riverside area. I mean, all over across country, and I really never thought about that until Instagram came out, and you've seen all these talented people across the United States. I mean, they're everywhere, and I don't have talent. You know, I think I have an eye for what I think looks good.
Style, yeah.
But you know, like I said earlier, I'm kind of partially colorblind, so certain colors, they don't make sense to me, and that's why I ask opinions of painters and things like, okay, will this look good? This is my idea, and I like bouncing my suggestions off them, because they're the professionals, and I'm not.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
I mean, like for paint, you know, you'd be the perfect somebody to come to and talk about paint.
Yeah, you know, but even paint, like everybody's got their taste. Like, you know what I mean? Valley Customs has a flavor that and a color palette that he's really good at that I'm not really good at. You know, Schultz, same thing.
Right. He
puts colors together that I would never thought of. And he pulls them off. He gets the right tones and shades, and it all works out. You know, and I like to think I'm the gray guy, that splashes of color in it. Like those are my best paint jobs.
Well, you look at like tattoo artists. You got people that are good with portraits. You got people that are good with colors. You got people that are good with black and gray. We all have our niche, you know, and depending on what style you want to go to, it dictates where you want to go.
Exactly.
You know, and I've never been. I'm more of a keep it simple guy. I've never been into like real flashy paint jobs, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my style.
100%.
You know, I like some of the old school colors, you know, and things like that. But you know, like with my Road Glide, you know, the way it turned out with that, it was kind of purely an accident because I bought those carbon fiber rims that I have them sprayed gold, and it's called pagan gold. So when I got the rims on the bike, I'm like, man, I really like that. Yeah. And it just added just a little flavor to the bike because it's just another black road glide. Yeah. And so I was talking to Jeff Holt about putting carbon fiber on, and he's actually the one that suggested. He goes, you know what? If you can find a good painter that can color match. Yeah. All your carbon, so your rims and all your carbon fiber all match instead of being two tones or different shades or whatever. And so when he said that kind of got the ball rolling in my head of which direction I was going to go. And so I called Bondo, a paint guy here in Orange County.
I know him, he's a good dude.
Yeah, so I said, hey, here's what I'm looking at doing. I got some carbon fiber parts coming. I want you to match the rim color to the rest of the carbon. And he's like, bring it on down. So I drive down there, and at that point, all I had was I took him my hand guards I got, and he's looking at my rims. He's like, and I didn't know what color it was because it depends on the time of the day or shading. Yeah. It looks gold, looks green. Yeah. And he goes, looks like it's pagan gold. And he goes, hang on. So he mixes up a little bit of pagan gold, walks outside, grabs the hand guard, uses his finger, spreads the paint over it, and then kind of takes the hair dryer and blows it dry and then holds it right to the rim, and it was a perfect match. Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I would have never been able to do that. And so all the carbon parts came in, and so I just had him spray it all the same color. And
that's what's good about the bagger thing is that you can find unique ways to kind of blend the carbon fiber, throw the color over it. Not necessarily do a custom paint job, but the bike's just not black. You know what I'm saying? Right. And the other what's dope about it is like I said, you rode it, you ride this bike. Was this when you did the trip last year? Was it on this bike?
Yes.
Nice. So I'm like stoked. I'm like, I'm doing 30 days and fucking 7,000 miles. Right. And you guys did 14 days, 21 days, but 14 riding days.
14 riding days, and we did 8,600 miles,
coast to coast. That's one thing I can never say I've done is coast to coast because I live in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like there's no way I'm fucking going east to turn around and go all the way west. It's just not happening.
No. And this trip kind of started off because Roji, my buddy of mine from Black Flies, he's the kind of the guy that he's the trip planner. He'll get up at 3 a.m., he'll plan trips, he'll plan routes, and he loves doing that, And so we let him run with it because we were just Pied Piper. We just follow him, which is nice when you don't have to think.
You don't have to figure it out. You just got to, hey, where's the next gas stop? Let's go.
We just follow Roji. It's either be gas or it's going to be barbecue. And that's the two places we're going to be going, or a hotel eventually. Yeah,
not a bad stop.
And having somebody like that is such a blessing because I don't think we would have done those rides if it hadn't been for him because he was kind of the one that was pushing those rides. Yeah. And so when we did that ride, from here to Florida Keys, it's I think 2,600 miles or whatever.
Dude, it's retarded.
And it was such a grueling ride, especially because we took the 10
all the way,
all the 10, and it just, you go through Texas, and Texas seems like a whole new country. It takes forever to get through it. And we got to the Florida Keys, and I've always wanted to go on the 10 miles of bridges that are over the water. So we did that. That was kind of that was really cool actually. And then we got to Florida, the very south end at the Keys, and we had an Airbnb there with a pool. So we hung out there for a few days and with the very south tip, and ultimately headed back, through Jacksonville and all that, and into North Carolina, South Carolina, and we were making our way up to. We were going to go to Clockworks to go see Brian, but the storms, the weather, it was so bad. We were just like chasing or trying to outrun all these storms. And when we got to Atlanta, and they happened to have the bagger racing race going on, so we'll go watch that. So we went and watched that, which was kind of cool. Yeah. And then, but we got holed up in a hotel for 3 days because a matter of probably in like the first day we were at the hotel, the newscaster said that there was like 175 lightning strikes that actually hit the ground within a 10-mile radius of where we were staying, and we're like, we're not leaving this hotel until this weather storm passes because my dumb ass will get electrocuted, and so we waited, and that drove us crazy because we were 3 days at a hotel and it was pouring every single day. Wow. And there's not a whole lot to do in that area of Atlanta, and so once it cleaned up and we got on and we were like we bonsai'd to try to get to Clockworks, but another storm was coming through, so we continued west and went through like Oklahoma and Texas. and then shot up back up through Utah and into Colorado to we were trying to go to Durango.
Yeah.
So we never made it to
Clockworks,
which I kind of bummed me out because that was one of the stops I was looking forward to because they're good people. Then ultimately he just came back down to 15 through Utah and through Vegas and so when I got home I must have slept for 2 days straight because I was just beat up. It's a lot. You're going through it right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of riding. And it's physically demanding, and especially when we were averaging 600-700 miles a day. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of time on a bike.
Yeah, trust me, the first couple times we did trips, it was like that. We were just trying to smash miles, get to the place. But you start to plan the trips differently. You start to look at like, okay, I want to be here. All right, if we do a 400-mile day, then let's back it up with a 150 or 200-mile day.
Right.
And let's find a cool place where we know we're going to get to do shit we want to do. Or if we're going through areas that has lots of shit we want to see, you don't want to put that a 400-mile day because you're going to be stopping, you're going to be doing this. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get how to do it or how to optimize it once you've done it a couple times. And now that we've kind of almost essentially ridden the whole country together, like me and all the homies, we kind of know where we want to go hyper focus a bike trip to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we could do a whole trip just in like the Yellowstone, Idaho, fucking Montana kind of area and spend a whole week just there.
And just because there's so much to see. And that's the problem with bonsaiing through state after state is you don't get a chance. There's so much to see in every state. And that was one of the things that we talked about after we debriefed our trip. Yeah, is like, what could we do better? And I said, I would like to ride 300 or 400 miles and to a destination, stay there for a day or two, and go on little mini trips and go see cool things.
Use that as like a center point to do a bunch of stuff.
Like base camp, and then go out and do whatever, and then come back and get a good night's sleep, and then ride a little bit more, and then do the same thing. Because we bonsaied through areas that there was some cool stuff that we didn't get a chance to see because we were on a
trying to
deadline.
do a lot. Yeah. Well, also the other thing is like we've always said anytime we can get to like a campsite or a hotel like by 3 p.m. Right? So 3 p.m. usually when you can check in. So at 3 p.m. we all check in. We can unload the bikes. We can usually hop in the shower real quick, and we're ready for an early dinner and a late bar night. Sure. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then the other thing is like the other great asset of the country is using that social media that you guys have to go meet up with people and let them show you what's going on in their neck of the woods. I
probably when I announced that trip on my Instagram, I probably had 30 or 40 guys said, hey, if you're in this area, hit me up. There's some cool rides, and I was inundated with just all these suggestions. It's like, I can't do
it. It does get overwhelmed with the suggestions. I don't really like people. I don't care for people suggesting rides because, trust me, I've already looked at the map. I understand it left. I'm a map nerd, so I study it, right? So every curvy road, I get it. I know where it's at too. I haven't ridden it, but I would rather you suggest a great place to eat.
Yes.
That's harder to find.
Because the locals know where to eat.
Yeah.
We don't.
So it's like when you're coming to a town, it's like, all right, I can see the map. I can see the curvy roads. I can see where the elevations and shit are. But I don't know what's good, and I don't know what time they close, and I don't know what bars got the vibe that we're going to like. So that's where that shit comes into play more. We use stupid shit that, like, I'd say it's stupid. We just use weird things to kind of motivate us to ride places. A lot of it started off of going to visit all the Forrest Gump sites from when he ran. Right. Which we've knocked off a lot of them. We saw, obviously Monument Valley, but we rode to Maine last year to go see the lighthouse where he turned around and just left.
Yeah.
Very underwhelming.
Right.
Very small.
Right.
It'll fit in here probably. But cool.
Fuck you. That was an awesome day for me. I'm very proud of that trip. This guy underwhelming.
I'm just saying, like, there's bigger lighthouses out there.
Yeah, we did the Monument Valley because we stopped right. I think there was a sign that said,
Forrest Gump Hill.
Yeah, so we stopped there along with all the other tourists, and we're trying to get out there and kind of take the same picture that he took. And we all ultimately did it. So that was kind of fun. So so we're planning another trip. I think Roji's talking about Alaska. Whew. So
he doesn't shoot like he's fucking sniper and shit.
He's going big game.
Yeah.
He's going big game. And so we're looking at either riding to Alaska, which it takes about a week to get there.
Yeah.
Or renting bikes. Fly there, rent bikes, get on some of the bike tours that take you throughout all the scenic stuff.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, but I I feel more comfortable with my own bike. So I'd rather bonsai, ride there, spend a week, ride through Alaska, and then come home.
But to ride up there, isn't it? There's a lot of dirt roads and like real sketchy stuff.
Yeah,
right?
there is. We
better suited for adventure bikes than these
right,
style bikes.
right. So we got talking to a guy in Arizona probably 6 months ago, and his name's Preacher, and he's a big man. He's probably 6'5", 300 pounds, and he carries it. He has a bear claw around his neck. And so we were at breakfast with him. It's sitting next to him, and we just kind of, we're sociable guys. We're talking, and he hears us. He's like, "Oh, where are you guys heading to?" And we start talking. He's like, "Yeah, I'm down from Alaska," and so he starts telling us a story about this grizzly that he shot when he lived in. He's actually moving back out here, and the bear claw that was on his neck was the grizzly, was one of the front claws. And I didn't realize how big a grizzly paw, or even the nails, it's ginormous. So he pulls his picture out, and he's standing there next to this grizzly bear that probably weighs, I don't know, 700-800 pounds. I mean, it's ginormous.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's a big man, and he's standing next to this thing, and that bear is dwarfing him. I'm like, that is scary as all shit. He's like, "Oh yeah, no." He goes, "My heart was racing when I shot it."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I was away, I was a distance from it, but but still, he goes, it was one of those events in my life he's always dreamed about." And I kind of felt bad,
You set it up with this size. I thought you were about to tell us a Legends of the Fall story.
Oh, no.
Hand-to-hand combat.
No, he's got bear claw scratches all over his chest.
That's why I wear this around my neck.
Yeah, no. He used a scope of the rifle from probably 100 yards, but so he was telling us about he says parts of I forget what parts of Alaska. He goes, a lot of the roads are shitty, and a lot of
ice and water,
and there's potholes, and once you get out of a certain area, once you get into the main part of Alaska where they're a little more up to date on their
a little more urban
roads, he says then it's great. But he goes, you're gonna be riding some dirt trails for a while, and he goes, and if you really like your bike, it's gonna get beat up. And I'm like, ooh, I got way too much money to get rock dings and everything else, and but it'd be one of those trips, it'd be a once in a lifetime, and I'd have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like if I had. First off, they won't let me in Canada because I drink too much and things like that. But apparently, I think that would be cool as shit to have my bike posted in a picture and somewhere cool in Alaska, right? But
oh my god, yeah.
I had a guy on the podcast real early on that actually rode an adventure bike up there. Did a month-long trip. Went up there and he was telling me about this fucking town that's. And I think I've talked about it before, but there's this long railroad tunnel / road. It's the only way to get to this town. It's like fucking 5 mile tunnel or some shit like that, right? I don't think it's that long, but it's fucking long. But when you get to the town, it's got like this, like apartment looking building, but it's like an indoor, like you walk in, there's 4 or 5 stories.
Okay.
Everything in the city is in there. Everybody that lives in the city is living in this building. There's a school, there's a grocery store,
like a pod,
and it's like it's a port town or some shit like that,
right?
But, I looked it all up, man. It looked fucking sick and also scary. Like, could you imagine living in a building with everybody that exists?
No.
Within a couple 100 miles and shit like that?
I don't like most people, let alone, having them that close and you're stacked.
Could you imagine being
like
a kid? Like, man, I guess, who am I going to marry? Like,
yeah, because I'm sure there's probably some all these people hooked up at one point or another. Yeah. There's going to be drama.
It's my sister, brother, cousin.
Yeah, it's my sister, brother, cousin, yeah.
No, I think Alaska would be sick. Obviously it'd probably be easier just to fly out there and grab one of the tours.
Eagle Rider, that one.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But I do get it, man. Unfortunately, though, I think if you did it and you did it on your bike and you posted on the ground would be like, oh, underwhelming.
And they don't. I don't think a lot of people, if they've never partook or done a trip like that, realize how much work goes into planning something like that, and hotels and gas stops and and weather conditions, especially Alaska. We had to pick a right time of year to go.
Yeah.
And just the unknowns. The trip we were on, we actually rode with the anticipation of camping along the side of the road some places. And early on, I had all my shit stolen in New Mexico. So we stopped in what's that shitty city called?
El Paso?
No, in New Mexico. Oh my God.
Las Cruces, Deming, Lordsburg.
Where Breaking Bad was filmed.
Oh, Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. Okay, so I have a high school buddy that lives in Albuquerque, and so he sees I'm in town. He goes, "Hey, come on by. We'll make some steak dinner." I'm like, "Cool." So I show up, and I got this huge. I never traveled with a camping bag before, and I overdid it. I bought the biggest of everything, and it looked like I was basically smuggling my girlfriend with me the entire trip because it was such a big bag. And so he's like, "Where are you staying?" I said, "Oh, we're kind of near this hotel." And he's like, he goes, just be careful because the tweakers are stealing everything out of there. And so by the time I get to the hotel, I'm tired, and I don't feel like unstrapping my bag off my bike.
Yep.
I'm like, the hotel is the room is right there. I'll hear whatever. Go to bed. I walk out the next morning. My bag's gone. The truck next to us was some lady had like a rascal with an orange flag. It was stolen. Her cab was broken into. All her medications were stolen. I mean, they went haywire and just stole a bunch of shit from everybody. And I'm like, I hate this city. Absolutely. So I wasn't real butthurt that I didn't have to camp anymore because then I could just get a hotel room for the night because I'd rather sleep in a hotel room with a mint on the pillow.
But sleeping on the side of the road doesn't sound appetizing either.
No, it's I bought an air mattress and I got a big sleeping bag and I was actually looking forward to doing it because how often do you do that? But ultimately we didn't do any of that because of the weather and raining and stuff.
Well, also once you get towards Texas, like the land becomes private. You
don't know if you're trespassing or
I mean, you can at that point it becomes squatting. Mm-hmm. So you're looking for a bridge or some wild shit like that.
Yeah, no thanks.
Alaska trip, you could ride your bike up to like Seattle, and then rider to rider or Eagle Rider, a Pan Am or an adventure bike up to do that while you ship your bike up there. And then when you get to actual Anchorage, Juneau, then you swap out your bike. I don't know. That would be the ultimate flex.
Yeah, I mean, the adventure bikes are cool. I've yet to ride one. I got a buddy of mine, Corey, on Instagram. He goes by Hard, Fast, Loud. He bought one, and he loves the shit out of that thing. He goes, I love this bike. And he goes, it's just so different than his bagger, So he jumps on, and he's a shorter guy, so he's on his tippy toes. And he goes, but the thing is it lowers.
What do you get, the Pan America?
Yeah, you got a Pan America,
okay, nice.
And so he keeps trying to get me to ride a damn thing, and I'm like, no, because if I like it, I'm going to want to buy one. So I just best not jump on it.
So the consensus on that is they're fun as hell to ride, but they're not very comfortable for long distance.
I can see that. Yeah. It's just like a bigger dirt bike, and it's top heavy, and but for if you're doing a lot of mountain bike or mountain roads or fire roads, it's great for that. It's just like the dual sport guys that jump on the freeway and then go at Saddleback Mountain or whatever to go ride. Yeah. I mean, I see the draw to it, but I don't need another bike, Yeah, I mean, there is a draw to it. I like the vibe. I like the whole culture behind it too, because it's about pushing to ride. But I just don't have a desire to ride on dirt. No. Whatever. I mean, if I have to ride, we've done trips where we get caught on 20-mile stretches of dirt road and shit like that. But man, I'm not gonna say that I'm savvy enough in the wild to ride the dirt road and live amongst the dirt road people, you know what I'm saying? Right, and navigate around the animal life and everything else.
I'm not saying I'll never want to try it, but it's not appealing to me yet.
I think if I ever did that, I would rent a bike.
Yeah.
Because that way, at least if I drop it or I go down or hit some gravel, it's a rental. I'm not screwing up my baby. Yeah. I mean, I'd have a hard time seeing you ride your bagger on dirt roads. I'm like, oh my god, that would just.
I just make sure I'm in the front.
It gives me anxiety just even thinking about it. And
all my friends are getting pelted with rocks. They're like. That's if you have a custom bike, then you just got to be in the front. That's all you're gonna get. You're still gonna get a chip every once in a while, but nowhere near as much as if you're like right behind somebody.
Oh yeah. So, and I enjoy riding. I like the long distance. I don't. I got friends that'll ride the local bar and have a couple beers and go home. Yeah, and that's I don't mind that every once in a while, but it's boring.
Yeah, I mean when I'm home, like there's not much to do in Dallas, so I always tell people it's very desensitizing to ride around Dallas when you've ridden some of the best roads in America.
Oh, yeah.
Or, that kind of stuff. I like the whole idea of hey, it's Friday, let's jump on the bike and let's go so-and-so tonight, so-and-so tomorrow, and then we'll do a rip back home.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll do times like my buddy Matt on Instagram. He, I've known him for 30 years, and so there are days where we'll get up and, hey, let's ride tomorrow. It's like, where do you want to go? Don't know. And I'll get there and we'll make a decision. Like last time we did it, like, okay, you want to go to the river? and have a beer on Fox's on the river, or do you want to go to Glamis and have a beer at the Glamis store?
Yeah.
We flip a coin. All right, we're going to Glamis.
Yeah.
You ride 250 miles, have a beer, and turn around, come home. And so we're talking about doing that, but we want to do a trip to San Francisco. Get up at 3 a.m., bonsai to San Francisco, go to Walt Wharf, have some chowder and whatever, and a beer, relax for an hour, and turn around, come home. Just trips like that are a lot of fun, and it breaks up the normal day-to-day stuff. And, so, I got friends that do that all the time, and it's fun.
We on the way out here, we stopped in Mammoth. We were trying to find some hot springs, and we found one with some old ladies in there, butt-ass naked.
Oh, they don't care.
And they did not care. They invited us in.
And they were cool as hell.
Oh, my God. Were you guys taking peeks?
Oh, yeah. I was still looking at their nipples and everything.
Oh.
I couldn't help it. Either.
We, talking about hot springs, we were in Colorado, Durango last year, and so we took a ride to go to some hot spring area there. And it's kind of a well-known destination area, and a lot of retirement people go there. And so when you walk into this place, there's probably 35 pools that are different. Some are small pools, some are like little two-person pools, but it's all natural. And some of them are hotter than others, so you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go. And so we sat in this one that was kind of like 90-degree water, and you can smell the sulfate and all that stuff from just the natural, and you see all the crap that's floating in the water because it's natural springs. Yeah. And we got talking to this woman, and she was telling us about this lady who would be, she wasn't there that day, but she's typically there every single day, and she's probably in her 90s, she said. So she shows up every day, she sits there and she reads her paper, and she brings a shot glass with her, and before she leaves, she always takes the shot glass and downs the water. And she says that's the key to remaining healthy and having vibrant skin and all this stuff. And so finally I asked this woman, I go, does it look like it works? She's like, oh, she's amazingly beautiful. Her skin is silky smooth. And I'm like, I just want to start drinking the water. Yeah. We'll get rid of these wrinkles.
That may be genetics too. She may be full of shit.
But I've heard that the sulfur is like some kind of, in old cultures, it is like a healing thing.
Right.
So I didn't know about the drinking it. I thought just bathing in it was one of those things.
Right. And I didn't even try, I didn't even want to taste the water because it's human soup at that point. People have been in it all day long and are pissing in it,
So, the one we got in that had algae all on the sides. And at one point, I slipped and my mouth dipped under, and I got a mouthful of it.
Oh.
And I came out. And the lady said, "Yeah, I wouldn't drink it, but you'll probably be okay with just a little bit." Oh, I thought I was going to get sick for the next.
Yeah, the runs.
Every time. Yeah, it was like, is this the hot spring coming back to haunt me? Mm-hmm. Fuck, taking a shot glass of it. That's gross.
No, and and I'm sure it tastes nasty, and and I probably peed in it when I was there. We were in the water.
I definitely peed in it.
Probably 2 hours, so you're going to pee in it.
Yeah, I definitely peed in it.
But I'm not drinking it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about how many times you go swimming, you get a little bit of chlorine, you swallow that or some shit, or in the ocean, you get the salt in it or something like that. But yeah.
Well, at least the ocean, it's so diluted.
You know when you get it in your mouth.
Yeah. If there's some kid 10 yards away and he pees, by the time it gets to you, it's already dispersed. But I don't want to drink it.
Yeah, for sure.
No thanks.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like so far, like that part was pretty wild. We were kind of thinking it could be a thing if we pulled up and there was like some nudity. We were hoping they'd be younger and hotter, but never the case. Even if they were, we'd probably been too scared to even like take our shirts off and shit. We ended up just getting our underwear and getting in, right? Yeah. But no, it was cool, man. Like there's a lot of cool shit. And like I said, that's one of those things that like on this trip, we took a lot of roads to get to San Francisco that are not like the fast route. It's,
right.
Going to Monument Valley and then cutting straight through, going through Zion, going through we tried to go see the gate for Area 51, which is so far off the main road. We're like, it's good from here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll Google it when I get home.
Yeah, I don't need to go see a fucking gate that bad. But we found a kook there at the Rachel gas station in Area 51. Dude got chased off by a sheriff or whatever, and he's like, I got some gas money. They kicked me off the base. I was trying to get my ship.
Oh my God. So he's been out in the desert for a little too long.
Yeah. He had like Minnesota plates or some shit like that on his vehicle, and he's like, we're like, man, what kind of ship is it? And he goes, it's classified. He was leaning into it.
I love talking to those guys because they're so out there, and in some ways they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Because
He made me a great deal on some peyote.
Did
No, I'm joking.
but you talk to them and you're like, and sometimes they're so convincing because they've told this lie or they believe it, but they've told it so much that they actually believe their own lies.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. But and the party is like, oh my God, he sounds legit. I mean, he might be telling the truth.
At this point, like, what if he is telling the truth? What if he did, he did have a ship, or I don't know, who fucking knows? But there's always those weird kind of.
You never know.
Yeah.
I used to train with this professional retired power lifter, and I met him at 24 Hour Fitness when I was living in Long Beach, and he's crazy as can be, and his stories are always out of this world. He's shooting at people, and people are breaking into his house, and he's blasting people with shotguns, or he's got gold cubes from bricks from the Pope. He's
Wow,
everywhere. He'd call me at 3 a.m. in the morning sometimes, and just he'd be having a breakdown, and wanting to kill himself, and but his stories were so convincing about some of these things, and he'd get me. I'd be sucked into these stories, and I'd be intently listening to him, like, oh my God, this is true. But he was so believable. And as soon as I walked away, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Obviously this is not happening, but he was so convincing because he's practiced this story so much, it just comes out naturally. It just flows. He didn't have to think about it. It was like it was scripted, like he was an actor. He just rattled it off. And I got to a point where it took me a while to figure out that he was kind of out there. Yeah. One of the nicest guys in the world, though. He outlifts everybody in the gym. He's a couple of years younger than me, and he's like 5'8", 350. Yeah. And just his shoulders look like big bowling balls. He's just one of those guys. Yeah. And he trains, like, still to this day, he works out twice a day, 3 a.m. in the morning because he can't sleep. So he's in there training and videotaping everything. But very, very convincing. He's a professional.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to sit down. Actually, the funniest thing was we were at Yaniv's. That fucking old man, the German guy that was there. I guess he's the building owner. This dude was funny as fuck, and we were laughing our asses off. He was telling a whole bunch of very inappropriate jokes, very cancelable things. Right. It was funny as hell. But like guys, like older man, obviously been living here for a while. He's got that whole like. He's seen some shit on Melrose, basically. Sure. And dude, he was just if he started a story or a joke, we were like, yeah, I'm invested. Let's go.
He's got me sucked in.
If that dude started a podcast, I'm subscribing.
You would listen.
Whatever. I'm on the Patreon. You name it. Yeah.
And the funny thing is,
entertaining.
Yeah, Yaniv knows a lot of people. He's very, very talented. Yeah. And in the area that he works, he builds a lot of bikes for high-end clients. Yeah. And I remember when he had a bike stolen. He had one of his nice FXRs.
I remember the FXR, stolen. Yeah. The fucking the industry came together on that one.
So he calls me and he's like, dude, my bike was stolen. And I'm like, well, where is it? He goes, one of the employees, they locked up and they forgot that it was out there on the sidewalk and they left the keys in it. And we came in the next morning, it was gone. And so, and he's asking me for advice, and so I'm like, well, I'll come down there. So we go down there, we go to the police department and file a report. And so we're looking at the video footage, and it's the guy that stole it. He looks like an old Indian. He's all weathered. He's been living on the street, hair slicked back, and the guy basically walked up, was asleep on the sidewalk, got up, saw the keys hanging off the ignition. He goes, yeah, I got free transportation. So he jumps on it and
he knows how to ride it.
Yeah. He rode it probably, oh my God, 200 miles, and then he pulled off the side of the road to take a nap. And some sheriff or CHP looked over like, this is kind of weird. Pulls over and discovers the bike is stolen. Yeah. And so Yaniv calls me. He goes, they found my bike. So I drive down there and we get my truck and we go down to pick it up at some tow yard 100 miles from here. And the tow yard people were fucking assholes. Like, how do we know it's your bike? And there was parts missing off the bike. And one of the employees that was there, he looked like a biker. I'm like, Yaniv, I guarantee these guys that guy right there probably stole parts. He knows what they're worth. He's not stupid. And of course, we could never prove it. So we got the bike back and loaded it back in my truck and drove it back to the shop, and it was kind of beat up. The guy dropped it a couple times, but it was funny because typically you don't find your bikes.
Yeah.
They get parted out immediately. Within the first day, and but this guy, he told the story that he got up and saw it and said, "Yeah, I'll go for a ride." Rode down to the nearest Goodwill, found some used Nazi bell helmet, whatever it was, and put it on there so he wouldn't get pulled over, and decided and rode 150 miles and just went for a ride. And then
ran until the gas went out.
Yeah, and then pulled over to get some rest, and the next thing you know, he wakes up and he's got cops standing over him. But I'm like, what a great story! What a great story!
Yeah, that should never happen.
Imagine that ride where he's like, man, this is a nice fucking bike.
This is nice. It shifts good. Paint's all pretty.
I think my life's turning around.
Yeah, this is a gift from God.
For the line from Pulp Fiction, this is some gourmet shit.
Yeah. But it's funny because but another very seriously talented guy. He's got an eye for things, and and I've told him this before. The problem with Yaniv is he's so invested in his company that he has ownership in every little aspect of it. So he's trying to do everything at that shop. And I've told him, I said, dude, I go, you got to hire some people that you can trust so you can go back to designing and doing your cool bikes as opposed to dealing with T-shirt sales and all this stuff. I go, I get it. It's your baby. You got your hands everything. I go, but at some point you got to step back and just relax, and go back to designing bikes and let your other people do it. And I don't think he has it in him, It's just he started that brand 20 years ago, and I think it's just the way it's going to be,
I love it, man. Like I started the shop after the podcast and probably took 150 photos. We both bought some shirts and bought some really, really expensive hoodies, but they're dope.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're paying Hollywood prices.
Yeah, Hollywood prices.
Because when I first got my FXR, I took it right to him.
Yeah.
And so he did a quick makeover and put a pipe on it for me and cleaned it up and shocks and all that stuff. So he got to the point where that was his first version of it. And I remember he and I riding down, what's that street down there? Melrose? Anyway, we go to some fancy bougie coffee store that pay $18 for a cup of coffee or whatever, and I'm sitting there looking at his bike, which was the really nice one, and mine, which is not as nice, but it was a good starter. And I'm like, this is some cool shit, Here I am with one of the guys that is well known, especially now with the FXR stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, he hit it big with all the chopper stuff, and I think that's where his passion is. But he saw that the FXRs were taking off, and like, I got to jump on that bandwagon because it's going to be like the next knucklehead. Prices are going up. I mean, they're coming down now, so people are kind of losing interest in them. But he saw the writing on the wall and took advantage of it and did really well with it.
I mean, we were riding down the streets over there too, and after we left the shop, we boogied up to Sunset and was like, hey, let's go ride Sunset back down towards back towards like PCH Santa Monica and shit. And man, it's just fucking, for somebody in Texas, riding down that street, and there wasn't a lot of traffic, so we were able to hit a few lights without having to stop.
Right, which is rare.
And then we ended up stopping and having some hot dogs at the Carney's or some shit like that.
Carney's, Carver, or something like that.
Something like that.
Okay, right.
And it was just dope, man.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing about riding these bikes in different places is I would love, because Yaniv said that his favorite thing to do is in the afternoon, evening, when the traffic's died down, jump on the bike, ride Sunset down to PCH, take a towel with you, hop in the ocean real quick, just chill on the beach for a minute, then ride back home.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
That's refreshing.
Yeah.
That makes his day.
For us, or for me at least, Dallas has got a real pretty skyline, and we got a lot of bridges that go across the river in front of us. And so, man, I love night riding around Dallas because the buildings are all lit up. We got a lot of cool bridges that have a lot of vistas. No hills, no terrain, nothing like that. But we just have, the city skyline is
especially when it's a little warmer at night. I know when
right now it's 105 in Dallas. So
it's miserable.
Yeah, there's the vibe you get out here. There's nothing in Texas that you can match. Where as far as be down by the coast and 15 minutes this way, if the temperature jumps up, or if you're going towards the coast, it drops down. And
right.
The whole jumping in the water. We got lakes and stuff, but it's not the same vibe as what Yaniv's talking about, and just jump in the ocean, just resetting it.
Yeah, just decompress, reset, and
the
go home.
It's just too fucking hot. Even if you found water here, it's good luck riding. I mean, this is something else.
Yeah,
There's a fence around all our water.
So there's fences?
Yeah, you either got to get into the state park.
Oh.
There's only like 2 or 3 actual natural lakes in Texas. The rest are man-made, but they're all like in areas that are, essentially some type of park. And if they're not in a park, they're fucking gross.
Right.
And you don't want to get in. Yeah.
I bet. I love night riding. Last couple of years ago, we were in Arizona we were in Phoenix, and we decided to go grab some food downtown Phoenix. And we rode with Danny G and Lauren and a couple other people, and it's just it was probably 80 degrees at night. It was kind of in the fall time.
Yeah.
Weather was perfect, and I'm like, I could do this every single night.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of riding at night, especially in the areas where there's a lot of animal life, because it scares the shit out of me. And but it was so relaxing. Like, I could do this. I could move here, and this time of the year would be perfect. During the summer, forget it.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I'll stay away. But the fall is perfect.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever went to Phoenix was for like one of Dixon's early bike night parties they used to have.
Right.
And it got canceled. It got shut down like an hour and a half into it. So linked up with some locals. We ended up doing some rips around like downtown, went to a couple bars, went to a couple different areas that had bars. And dude, it was like, once again, 2016 is I think when that happened. And it was dope, man. Like, just being in different cities or with the locals,
right?
Going to their watering holes,
right?
Was the
right.
shit,
And that's who you want to be with,
yeah.
Because who knows the place better than the people that actually live there. It's my buddy Matt. I was telling you about him. Whenever he goes to Hawaii or wherever, he always hits the locals up. Go, where do you guys eat?
Yeah.
Where do you eat? You're a local. You're a native here. And he goes, those are the best those are the best places to eat.
I get so many people that come to Dallas, especially when they come and fly in to do the podcast. Like, I have like my own Rolodex of like, what vibe do you want? You want to try Texas barbecue? We got a couple spots. You want a good vibe? You want a good atmosphere? You know what I mean? Like, I got all that figured out for people. We got good Mexican food. It's different than out here, but it's good.
When you think of Dallas or any part, you think of barbecue.
Yeah,
that's what they're known for.
Man, it's crazy enough. We're Texas in general. Like,
thank you.
I know people. Everybody. It's like this. I think I might have solved, or at least gave Texas a bit of a jump in the Whataburger In-N-Out thing. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the deal. We have In-N-Out in Texas. So we get to go have In-N-Out one day and Whataburger the next day. Nobody in California has a Whataburger out here.
No.
So you only get to taste it when you go somewhere on a road trip, maybe in Arizona or some shit.
Right.
Which that ain't the fucking one. They don't care. They're purposely trying to make it taste like shit.
Oh yeah.
Nah, but I mean, it's just one of those things where, same thing with Mexican food. Like, Tex-Mex is similar, but there's a couple things different. But you don't really like Tex-Mex here is like, maybe you guys might have a couple on the borders, right? Which is
right. Which really,
Chili's.
Yeah, it's a Chili's. Yeah. It's nothing legit.
But I mean, the Mexican dude, best tacos in America. The closer you get to this border down here, the better they get. It seems like.
When we go to Glamis, there's a small little town outside of Glamis called Brawley, and they have a lot of. It's an old farming town, and there's it's a heavily Hispanic area, and they've got small little taco guys that are kind of along the road sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially when you're heading out, there's one taco guy that was there for years. He knew that like this was the last stop for the next 100 miles, so he purposely stationed himself right at the very tail end of the city. And he was busy. Some of the best food. I every time, like, we got to stop for tacos. And then remember one day we stopped and he wasn't there. And so I went to the gas station, which he typically posted out front of. And he's like, "Oh, he passed away last year." And I'm like, "Oh man," I was bummed because he was a super nice guy.
Yeah.
I was bummed I was never going to get a chance to eat his tacos again. And I'm like, "Does he have a kid that maybe he's taking over?" And he's like, "No." He goes, the taco place went with him.
The best tacos I've ever had used to be a similar situation in Stockton, California, when I'd fly out there to work. And there was this drunk. He just parked his truck. It was like walking distance from the shop I worked at a lot. And every fucking day I was like, this is my first time ever having street tacos.
Oh, man.
Like 2014 or some shit like that. And I'm just like, what the fuck? This is amazing. So every day I'm craving it. I go in there and get 3, and then 2 days later I'm like, dude, they're so good. Give me 6.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they're the smaller ones, right?
Yeah.
So you could eat more.
And then I'd fly home and I'd come back like every other week or 2 weeks or so. And eventually I was like, hey man, where the fuck is the taco guy? Oh man, he got a DWI. They took his license or some shit like that from doing the truck. And I'm like, fuck. And then he's like, but I got another spot. So we went around to another corner. This one's in an actual place, but it wasn't as good, but it was definitely still better than anything I've ever had in Texas.
Right.
Yeah. We do have some good taco spots in Texas. It's up and coming, but man, it's like what I don't like a lot is the comparisons. Like, how come it can't just be good here? There's some good shit here, good shit there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they're all good. I mean,
It's
just, some are better than the others. Some have preferences. You talk about the What a Lot of Burger. We have the In-N-Out out here. We have
Five
Guys.
Yeah.
And I prefer In-N-Out over Five Guys. They're both good.
Yeah.
I'll eat both of them. But the problem I have now with In-N-Out is every year their burgers seem to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and now they're double. It looks like a single because the patties are so. And I got to eat 3 of them. I'm spending more money now instead of just keep them the original size. I get one. So that bums me out. But
well, good thing Texas burgers are.
Oh yeah,
they're fat.
I would love
thick.
that.
No, I don't know. It's never going to get old, and it's fun to talk shit about it. But at the same time, no. But yeah, like I said, when you rode across Texas, I mean, that's like the long. If you did 10, like that's the Texas. That's the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
I've driven across it once. We went to go pick up a Harley in Odessa, Texas once.
Yeah.
And we drove straight there, and so me and my buddy Matt, and we were basically swapping because we were getting tired. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my god, this is grueling, And you look across, and what's that middle Mexican town that you go by that's known for all the drug murders and
in Juarez?
Juarez.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't realize it was right there.
Yeah.
And I'm looking over the freeway, and I'm like, that's a different life right there.
Yeah.
Completely different life.
It's like
life.
you look over there and there's no McDonald's signs or
None.
Walmart signs. You look to the left and there's complete normalcy.
It's all commercialized, and and then I started reading up on wars about all the the dope killings and gangs, and I'm like, we do not want to end up in that area.
Yeah.
Let's a couple white boys, let's stay out of that area.
Man, it really is like driving through that. I remember the first time I ever came out to California, we went that way, and I was like, is that fucking Mexico right there? Like literally this gym right here, like this is a road, and at that fucking wall is the fence. And then over that fence is literally somebody's house.
All those shacks.
Shacks, dude.
Right.
And
that's all they know. I mean, they don't know any better, other than maybe looking over the freeway and going,
yeah,
I bet those food places are pretty good.
Man, like one day, like imagine being a kid. Like one day, I'm gonna get to eat at that Wendy's.
I'm gonna jump this fence and run across the 10. The rest of my life, I'm gonna play Frogger, avoiding cars, and go get myself a burger.
It's just wild, man.
And that's why we take things for granted around here because we have everything at our fingertips. I ordered food tonight. It was delivered here. To the gym. It's just so easy to get what you want now, and so I appreciate. Here we are drinking beers in the gym doing a podcast.
Exactly.
Where else are you gonna do that?
Yeah, and man, I guess I have never been close enough to the border, like towards Tijuana, but apparently it's super Americanized down there.
Oh yeah.
Where that kind of stuff's going on.
Right, you go across the border and it's all the local bars and it's tacos and it's just it's a money pit for the government. They know people are gonna come spend money.
Yeah.
And hopefully the cops don't mess with you too much or try to extort money out of you just because you have
a nice bike or whatever.
Yeah, or windows are tinted too dark.
Have you done like the EDR or any of that stuff?
No, I was supposed to do it 2 years ago, and I got sick right before, and I think it's coming up like this year.
I thought it was no, it was this year already.
Oh, okay.
Because I have one guy that comes to our camp. No, you're right. It is coming up this next year. Yes. So this year it didn't happen. It's coming next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was supposed to go last year, or maybe 3 years ago, and we were talking about getting condos on the beach. Tony from Land Speed, he was kind of set because he goes there all the time, and I'm always leery about going to Mexico and crossing the border, and because it's scary. It can
Yeah,
be,
for
you
sure.
know. And a friend of mine was just there not too long ago, and they got pulled over, and he's dating a Mexican girl who speaks Spanish, and she's like, "I got this," because they came up and basically wanted $200 from him to let him go because they claimed his windows were too dark. And so she says she kind of got into it, and they started talking back and forth. And of course, my buddy doesn't speak Spanish, and he's just kind of sitting there listening to this go. And all of a sudden, his chick goes, she goes, "Give him $20." And he's like, "All right." So he hands the guy, it was some kid with an AR or like a M16 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Hands the kid $20, and they're like, "Okay, have a good night." And he's like, "What was that all about?" She goes, "You got to learn how to talk to him."
Yeah.
You know, she goes, "Because I'm Mexican, you know, he respects me, you know, because my family is down." And she told the kid that my family lives in this area, and that's why they're there. So they gave him a break and said
Wow.
$200. It was only $20. And my
Yeah, Papa Juan, when he was
Oh,
on
yeah.
the podcast, he was talking about some of that stuff, how they missed their exit to get out of there and ended up getting hemmed up by the cops, and they had to negotiate and things like. I don't know. That's wild.
it's scary because you have no legal representation.
Yeah.
You know, you're a foreigner in their country. They could do whatever they want. They could take you to jail, impound your bike, and they could leave you there for however long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny. I just met. I mean, Juan and I were friends now, but
Yeah.
He'd been following me on Instagram for a while, and you know, and every once in a while, he hit me up about rides if we were heading down south because he's down in the San Diego area.
Yeah.
And it never worked out. Well, lately, a couple rides, and he rode to he rode to Arizona with us. Where would we go? Recently, he went on a ride with us, and he's really a good dude.
Yeah, he is.
You know, and so I really got to know him, and now I consider him a friend. But he's a good guy. You know, and he's been through a lot. You know, you
Yeah.
listen to him. I mean, I'm sure he told you stories about his helicopter stuff and being deployed and. Some of the stories, I'm like, oh my God, you know, I applaud you because that takes a lot of balls, you know.
Yeah. I guess I can't remember if he's Navy or Air Force. I think they're the same, aren't they? Sort of.
I don't know.
Kinda.
I don't know.
It's like the Navy's on the boat, but so is the aircrafts. I don't
Right.
fucking know. Yeah,
They
it's weird.
coexist. Yeah.
I don't know. I just play Call of Duty. But no, we were talking, you know, when he came into the podcast, it was kind of, you know, right before, right when Top Gun was coming out. We
Okay,
were talking
right.
about, did that inspire you? And he's like, fuck yeah, they did. Shit was badass. And I'm like, I wonder how many people are going to like, have you seen the movie yet?
I have.
It's fucking badass.
You know, I was a little leery because I don't typically like remakes or sequels. And so I was telling Lisa, I go, I haven't been to a movie in years. I go, I just want to go and order a big tub of popcorn and a Coke and sit there and just, I go, I don't care if I'm by myself. So ultimately she ended up going with me and her son. And at first the movie was a little corny because it kind of mirrored the first one with all these
a lot of similarities.
These cocky, in shape guys walking around and, you know, like acting like jerks. I'm like, oh God, it's just a remake. It's just another remake. But then it changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the scenes. And I guess Tom Cruise, I'm not a real fan of his, but he's a good actor. I guess all the scenes that in these jets, he's actually in the jets, going through the motions, and I know he's a pilot, but I think the guy behind him was flying it. But all the G's and all the scenes where he's rotating and pulling serious G's, I mean, he's in good shape to do that because it takes a lot out of you.
He's drinking that fucking that fucking sulfur water, dude.
Yeah, exactly, because he's almost 60.
Oh, he's in his 60s.
You know, and it's funny because
I looked it up. I think he's like 63.
No, I mean, so he's, you know, he's on human growth hormone. He's on something that's
It's
doing.
that fucking Scientology, dude.
Oh my God, I need to sign up.
Let me see this.
He looks younger than me, and I'm 6 years younger than he is.
He's 59.
50. It's still pretty impressive.
But he looks like I mean, you look great too for your age or whatever, however you want. Like, you look better than me, and I'm fucking 39, right? But his skin looks like, you know what I mean? Like young.
Yeah,
unless I'm just looking at it through Photoshop and goddamn.
No, he's got money. So he's got probably the best dermatologist. He's got best skin care people. You know, and just, you know, they take care of themselves, and they got the money to do it.
Yeah.
They got chefs that cook good food all the time. They're not eating like we do. You know,
I do.
But it's funny they showed because the original Top Gun movie was probably 30 years ago.
Yeah, 84 or 86.
So the the woman, I don't remember her name, that was in the movie.
Oh yeah, you saw those
the
before and now.
In the pictures now, oh my Lord.
Dude, she looked rough.
She
looks like she should for her age.
Right.
She didn't work out or take care of herself.
Doesn't even look like her anymore. You know, she just looks like she's 80 years old. And
she was also, I think I looked in it too, she was older than everybody else.
She was. So I don't know how much older she is, but you know, even like my girl, she's like, men age better than women. Typically they do. You know, it's when they get crow's feet, it's distinguished. Yeah. When women get them, they're considered matronly or old looking. You know, and she goes, it's just not fair. You know, she goes, you know, your hair is, you know, it's silver gray, whatever. She goes, when women start getting it, it makes us look super old.
I'm into it.
And I'm like, this isn't silver, this is chrome. Yeah, I always tell her, I go, it's chrome.
There was a lady at San Diego Harley today who, I don't know how old she was, but she had mostly silver hair, but she wasn't old lady silver hair.
Right.
There was something about it.
Smoking hot.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. It wasn't even that she was. She was very pretty,
right?
And the hair, for whatever reason, it did something. It worked, and she was way more attractive than she probably gave herself credit. Just the way she was dressing, the way she kind of handled herself. You just want to tell her, "You're a fucking knockout, dude."
Right? Yeah, you have nothing to worry about.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, because Lisa, she'll be 55 this year, and she's
she does not look
smoking hot. You know, and I don't know what she's doing with my dumb ass, but I'm thankful every day that I have her. And I remember there was one day I was training in Long Beach at the gym, and I was working out with these younger kids. They're probably 25, and one of the kids looks at me and goes, "Can I say pussy?"
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure. So I just said it. But anyway, so he looks at me. He's like, "Dude," he goes, "You could be out there destroying the 23-year-old pussy." Is exactly how he put it. Yeah. And of course, it made me feel good. I'm like, yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. You know,
you got some?
Yeah. So I'm driving home. I'm like, you know, just feeling all cocky. I'm like, damn right. You know, this old man can pull some young tang. You know, but so I get home and I'm like, hey, babe, and I couldn't wait to tell her. I said, they said I could be chasing, I could be grabbing the 23-year-old pussy, destroying it. And she's like, okay, that's fine. She goes, but keep this in mind. She goes, I could be out there destroying the 23-year-old dick too. And I'm like, okay, that's no fair. You know, no more. We're not playing this game anymore. It's over. Forget I even brought it up.
Checkmate.
Yeah, she won that battle.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. She looks really great. She fucking works her ass off too, just like you do. So, you know.
She's the one that kind of keeps me going because, you know, she gives me shit if I get lazy. Mm-hmm. You know, and I like the fact that she holds me accountable because if I don't have somebody like that over my shoulder, sometimes I do get lazy. I'm a typical guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, she's like, you going to the gym today? I'm like, yes. You know, and she goes, because you can't be fully sleeved and have skinny arms. It just does not look good. I'm like, all right, I'll go to the gym. So she keeps me on track, you know, and in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, so I appreciate that. And, I never have to worry about her because she motivates herself. I mean, you know, and her daughter, her youngest is 20. And she's just got into fitness, and she's a stud. I mean, she's 5'11", 165, and just solid muscle. And because Lisa's got good genetics. Mm-hmm. Her ex-husband has great genetics. He looks like Superman, you know. And so put them two together, they make pretty babies. And you know, and then there's this physical specimens. I'm like, you don't realize how good you have the genetics you have right now. Yeah, take advantage of it because you know. I came from a line of alcoholics and German people, you know, whatever. And I go, I'm happy my liver works, you know. So.
That's rad, man.
Tattoos on the full sleeve arms. I like that. The difference between a tough biker and a chef who makes a real nice balsamic vinaigrette
yes.
With sleeves is big arms.
Big arms. Yeah.
The veins popping out. That's what it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you got some veins, I think.
No. There's a layer of
they're hidden under there somewhere. But
I used to hang my arm over the chair when I was in high school, just let those veins pop out.
Oh yeah, start doing this like you're.
Let those girls see
blood.
It. Like, look at this chick.
Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes I'll get super. I don't drink enough water, and I can always tell because I'll come in, especially when it's warm. I'll come in here and I'll start working out, and I'll look down and I'm like. I need water.
Hulking out.
I can tell I need water because I'm super veiny.
Yeah.
And I get that from my dad. You know, my dad, I remember growing up, he always had super veiny hands. And, you know, I'm like, how do you get all those? And he's like, my parents gave me.
Just deny your body what it needs.
Yeah. Just don't drink any water. You look cut. So.
Yeah, man. I the last time I was working out pretty consistent was probably 2013. I was single. Had a routine down. I had a nice a gym with dumbbells downstairs, and then when I wanted to work on machines, I would go down to the 24 Hour Fitness, and it was a good jog back and forth.
Yeah, it's a good warm up.
And I had fun, but then that's when my life started picking up, and I started traveling. The wife, I met her. She moved to Texas. It just got tougher and tougher and tougher, and then it became like there's not a gym downstairs anymore. Now I got to go to one, just even do dumbbells, and then you go to the gym. There's only three or four dumbbell racks, and they're full of people on it.
Right.
And then I was like, I'm fucking over it, man. And then I did the keto thing a couple years ago. Lost like 20 pounds and started working out, but I didn't have the energy to keep up working on keto.
And the problem with keto is, I mean, obviously you're limiting your carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And you need that energy to make it through the day, and it affects your brain too, because your brain works out of carbs. And so sometimes you find yourself, you're like, I feel kind of cloudy today. I can't make decisions or whatever. And or like keto or what was it? The Atkins diet was big for a while. It was all meat. And I remember I did that, and I dropped 25 pounds in like 4 weeks, and because it just, men typically can lose weight quicker than women. But with that, you typically gain that back, and then 5-10 pounds more. Yeah. Because you go back to drinking and eating chips at night and doing whatever you just typically used to do, and your body goes right back. Goes right back to the way it was. So I try to eat. I have an 80-20 rule, or I do 80% of the meals are pretty clean, and I have 20% where I have modified, kind of a cheat day. But I don't go overboard. So I try to keep moderation, because I have a big sweet tooth, and like Baskin Robbins is my go-to. And I've gotten so lazy now where I'll Postmate 2 scoops of ice cream. It costs me $30 by the time it gets to the house. But I don't care, because I don't leave the couch. Just get up and get it from the door. And but it's hard, working. It's hard, like for you. What I would one of the best things to do is probably buy yourself some of those resistance bands.
I've been building a gym in my garage, so I have a full dumbbell setup from I don't need 5s really, but I got all the way up to 55. Right. And I really can't. I could probably bench press a couple 55s once or twice, but I'm so fucking out of shape that I'd probably break my arm. Right. And then of course I got when I used to work out a lot, I did pretty much everything. I grew up playing sports, so I learned how to lift a lot of weights there with dumbbells and using different things, resistance and shit like that. But like deadlifts, all those type of things, I never got into that because I'd always fuck my back up. Oh yeah. So I never really learned how to do that correctly, and never got into that.
I don't do your typical deadlift movement. I don't do a straight bar. We have what we call trap bars, where you step into it and you got the handles right here. Oh, and it keeps you in perfect alignment. That way you're not bending your back. It's a lot safer. Because if you mess around with a straight bar doing, because everybody's watching these videos on Instagram, the guys deadlifting 600-700 pounds. And even at the local gyms, I watch these kids, and they're mimicking what you're seeing online, and they've got bad form, and they're rounding their backs. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to bust their back because they don't know any better. And so as you get older, you got to train smarter, train for longevity. Because I ego lift too. There are days when I want to come in and see if I put 405 up. It's getting harder and harder now because I think 3 weeks ago I bench pressed 375. And I felt it for like 4 days. My shoulder hurt. I'm like, okay, my days of going heavier are probably coming to an end. So now I don't try to go above like 315, and I just kind of do those for a couple reps. And
dude, if I can just put a 45 on each side and hit that for 8 times, I'm fucking like, yeah.
Dun, 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 like, Rocky theme starts playing in the background.
I'm Arnold Jr., But the nice thing about, working here, it's not your traditional 24-hour fitness. It's you look around and it's not that there's no machines. It's all typically free weights, and so you kind of have to mimic like a 70s throwback style of working out.
Yeah.
And so it keeps you honest and keeps you doing things differently.
Well, doesn't like doing free weights like create balance, and balance kind of helps form?
It can, and because you with free weights you typically engage a lot of core, where machines you get locked into a position and you just do bench press. And so but when you do it on a pad, you lock your feet down, you got to tighten your gut, things that you typically don't worry about on a machine. So it is better for you. Mm-hmm. But I like being able to ping pong back and forth to where I work here 2-3 days a week. So I work out when I'm working. I work out here, and all the other days I go to 24-hour fitness so it's a good mix. And I went on a rant the other day because I was at 24-hour by my house, and there's the high school is literally half a block from the gym, and all these knucklehead kids are out of school, and I think they get free memberships, so all the high school kids around 2:00 in the afternoon are out there working out. They're not even working out. They're just pissing me off. They're pissing everybody off because they're grab-assing, and they're leaving weights on the machines, and they're bad language in front of everybody, and I'm like, I hate it. I just want to strangle every one of them, and kick them out, but I can't. So I find myself coming here more often because it's not as busy. Yeah. And it typically we have the same group of people that are here at night, and we all get along. There's no drama. It's very simple. And but yeah, I think building a home gym and just getting some even 20 minutes a day. A
lot of people say like home gyms, like it's hard for people to do it, and
it is.
I'll be honest with you, it is hard because I've been building. I bought all the weights in December. But it's there, and I have used it a couple of times. But man, I don't know. I feel like that's the reason why I kept the gym membership. That's why I kept. Well, here's the deal: what happened to the gym membership? I got a Gold's gym membership, and I had it for about 2 years, and then literally, I shit you not, this sounds like I'm making it up, but it's not. When I decided to go there is when COVID hit, right? And then they shut the gym down,
right?
And I'm like, well, fuck. And then they have not reopened it, and it's not like something I can go on my phone and cancel. Like I have to go in there and cancel my membership, and now there's not one in my town anymore because they never reopened.
So you got to.
So I'm just paying $45 a month.
You got to find a corporate phone number and call and see what you can do. Because that adds up. That's $600 a year, whatever it is.
Well, it's like $480 a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I forget about it until I see it in my account. I'm like, fuck.
I know.
I'm supposed to do that.
That was a good dinner out right there. Yeah, so, every month.
But I mean, I don't know. Like I'm excited to start getting back into it and finding a balance with drinking and being this guy doing this type of shit, but also, disciplined enough to, if I am going to drink and get fucked up, like try to go extra hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Or drink a couple of glasses of water in between every beer.
I usually do that. My go-to is Jameson and soda water, and then usually a glass of water here in between here and there.
Right.
And I can sip on that. Me, it's like, what can I sip for a long time? Get a buzz and carry a buzz long enough in a conversation to keep it interesting and keep it edgy, keep it going and shit like that, but not get fucked up.
Right.
Man, the fucking podcast at home, when we do them in the studios and we're 3.5 hours in and I'm one-eyeing it across the table like, now here's what's wrong with FXRs, man.
I know.
And it's like in my head, I'm like, I got a really good point and it's coming across and it sounds so good, and then I'm editing the video or the audio afterwards, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I need to cut that off.
I was hammered.
It's embarrassing.
Well, especially like a 3-hour podcast. That's a long time. That's a lot of beer drinking.
Oh yeah,
And the last podcast I did was with Steve. And the beer was flowing. Yeah. And it was me, Steve, and Lorenzo. And the beers just kept flowing and flowing and flowing, and it was like 3 hours later, and I'm like, dude, can I sleep in your warehouse? Because I can't drive home. Yeah. Because I'm 45 minutes from home, and so I just hung out there.
He's
for a
not
while.
close to a fucking highway either.
No, and that's so I probably left at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm trying to get home, and hoping I'll get pulled over. Yeah. All hammered from doing a stupid podcast.
So before we move on too far from the fitness thing, something you touched on earlier, the nutrition, 75% of it. I know it's a loaded question to go, tell me how. But if you were to give any tips, like you were kind of saying as far as getting a routine and getting back into actual working out, As far as the nutrition side of it, if you were just give the dumbest down idiot version, quick, what would you say on that? Because I think that's what more than anything. A lot of dudes are, especially in the bike world, they can lift stuff. They've got a history. It's not necessarily the lifting and the working out. It's the, how do I not fuck this up in the kitchen and on the table?
Yeah. Keep it simple. Become a creature of habit. So here's typically what I eat. I'll get up. I had to have my coffee first, and then typically I'll have 6 or 7 scrambled eggs. Maybe half a piece of toast, and that's it. Wait a couple hours, and I go work out, come home, and then I'll have a couple pieces of chicken. Whether it's El Pollo Loco, it's probably one of the better fast food places out there, but their meat's shitty, so but it's better than anything out like Dorito
like
Central.
Some type of grilled chicken type
Right.
situation.
So I try to eat a lot of protein throughout the day, and then carbs aren't necessarily your enemy. If you're eating donuts every single day, yeah, it's going to catch up to you. But you need some good carbs. So you get carbs from broccoli or half a cup of rice, and then dinner. Just keep it simple. It's usually a piece of I do 12 ounces of salmon, steamed broccoli, and a little bit of rice. And that's
my
it.
shit too. We do that a lot. Not enough to make me lose weight, but
and then throughout the day, if I need to, I have a protein bar or a protein shake. So if you do that every single day, it might get boring, but at least it keeps you on track. And next thing you know, you start to notice your gut's getting smaller, and because you want to eat a lot of protein, especially when you're lifting weights, because you want to put size on, and that's how you grow is with protein. Mm-hmm. So they tell you to eat like a gram of protein for each pound of body weight. So I'm 230, so they tell me typically, eat 230 grams of protein a day, and it's hard to do. It's a lot of food, and so right now I'm at a point now to where I eat the same thing, and my weight really hasn't fluctuated a little bit. I've gotten a little leaner because I've bumped up my intensity a little bit in the gym here, but I don't waver a lot, So and I'm on testosterone too. I'm not ashamed to say it, because as you get older, your body starts naturally stops making it. Your nuts kind of start shutting down the factory, and so I've been on it now for 6 or 7 years, and because my levels were so low that I was having problems sleeping. My sex drive was, wasn't.
What's some of the things that what are because I'm in that boat too, where I've been thinking about doing testosterone. Obviously, after I start eating better and shit like that. But what are some of the things that, because there's a lot of, it's going to do this, it's going to do that to you. What are some of the things that side effect wise that you felt like it happened for you?
It really hasn't happened to me, but I'm aware of it. So if your levels of testosterone go too high, it causes a healthy imbalance in your blood. So your blood will thicken up. Which causes your heart to work harder, which obviously raises your blood pressure. Another thing about taking too much testosterone is as your testosterone numbers rise, your estrogen levels rise as well. And that's where you get your sore titties, you get bitch tit, and you get gyno, all the weird things. So they have estrogen blockers to stop that, So the balance is to try to find a nice healthy level to where you don't have to worry about taking estrogen blockers and all that, and I get my blood drawn every 4 months, so they can tell
where you're at,
where I am at if everything looks good. So I'm under a doctor's care, which is I got friends that buy it from the black market and they just wing it, and that's dangerous.
I was on the thing. I would rather do it through the doctor, but it's not that. It's so widely done now that it's probably a lot cheaper than. I mean, I'm not saying cheap, it's definitely going to cost you money every month, but
right.
It's not like I would assume a couple $100 a month kind of situation.
Yeah, it can, and some doctors are afraid of testosterone. Mm-hmm. They don't like prescribing it, and because one of the side effects, which really isn't that big a deal, Lisa makes fun of me about it all the time, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but is your nuts get smaller. Mm-hmm. And because,
I got plenty to spare, dude.
Yeah, and I don't mind having a small bag down there because I got more room for everything else. But as you start, your testicles start shutting down because you're introducing the testosterone via needle or pellet or cream or whatever. So, but as you get older, everybody's levels drop, and so it causes bad sleep, sex drive goes down the tubes, you know, you just don't feel right, you have no motivation.
Yeah.
And I always recommend people go get their blood work tested. And so when I did, like typically the numbers are so outdated, but typical levels, normal levels are between like 300 and 800 of testosterone. Mm-hmm. When I went tested, I was down to low 200s. And as you get older, those numbers drop, you know, further and further. So now that I've been on it, I sleep good. You know, I wake up with, I call them the no reason boners at 3 a.m., you know, like I was 18 again. I recover faster in the gym, you know, and I know sometimes like a couple months ago, I started to get a little soreness in my right pec. And I realized that I was, maybe I bumped up my test a little. You know, I was kind of self-dosing a little more than I should have, just to kind of see where my numbers would land. So I backed off, and then within a week, it went away. Yeah. So you have to be careful with it, you know, because it can cause strokes. If you're like some of the top bodybuilders out there, their levels are around 4,000 or 5,000. Damn. And they're slamming that. They're also doing tren. They're doing D-ball. They're doing all the steroids out there, and they don't care. And that's how they get so big. I mean, you can tell when someone walks in a room what they're using. Yeah. You know, and I can see it, you know, because I've dabbled. So I can see it. I'm like, okay, he's on something. You know, his face is super red. He's doing tren right now. And most guys won't talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to admit that they're having some pharmaceutical help to help them put size on. But, you know, at my age, you know, it's harder and harder to put size on, you know.
The sex drive thing, I mean, I don't think I have that problem at all, but maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe. Right. I don't know. I just feel like maybe, first off, I've never had insurance. I've never had like much of the ability to go to the doctor and get much things checked out. So that's kind of one of the things I want to start doing. Like I said, 40s, I'm trying to start doing all the shit I've been procrastinating with. Right. Yeah, so that's one of the main things. Go get blood work done, see if it's possible. I've looked into some other brand or some other companies that do like testosterone replacement stuff.
Don't buy the like over the counter stuff. No, it's useless.
I was going to go to we have those low T centers, those type of things. I was wondering if that might be probably a better.
You can look into it, but there's nothing better than, I mean, the best way. There's three ways. You inject in your butt cheeks or your thighs, outer thigh. They have cream that you rub in kind of your armpit area that your skin absorbs, but it doesn't take effect like injecting. Yeah. And then I just learned recently, I have a buddy of mine who they have pellets. They have testosterone pellets they put in their butt cheek, and it lasts 6 months, and it just slowly dissolves, and so you have that testosterone in your system the entire time. And the problem
like a suppository?
No, just almost like a pellet that dissolves in your butt cheek.
Like they inject it in your.
They basically cut your butt cheek open. And they put it like a
chip implant, like you're a dog. Yeah.
And throw a couple stitches and call it a day.
Okay.
And that's another way to do it, you know. And
I'm all like, do they put it in your ass?
Yeah. It doesn't hurt when you don't fight it as much, you know. Just go with it. Just enjoy the experience. Just one knuckle deep, you're good. But
I'll take that one, doctor.
Yeah, he's got big fingers. I like that.
Oh man, yeah, that's the plan, man. I want to get into it. I want to get more into it. I don't know, man. I've been doing well with the brand, not really having to show me much, like just show my work and things like that, but as like the podcast gets bigger and I find myself people like, oh, we got to get pictures with you and your bike, and I'm just like trying to use the fairing to hide my gut.
Yeah, you're sucking it in.
You know, doing those little angles that look good.
Like the women do, yeah.
I'm like, God damn it, you know. And what sucks is when they do videos of you can't hide any of the shit.
No.
You're just like, oh, there it is.
I mean, I look at when people videotape me or I see stuff on film or whatever, I'm like, God, I got a big ass. You know, it's just, you know, you really don't see yourself. I mean, I took a picture for a friend of mine today who sent me a Ride Faster Pushy shirt.
Yeah. And
so I'm looking at the picture, I'm like, look at my ass. It's fucking huge, you know?
That's Huntington Beach's ass right there.
Yeah. It looks like I have a black man's ass, you know? It's just bam. And, but yeah, so, you know,
do women like that? Like, I mean, of course, nobody likes a fucking flat ass, right?
I think so.
They don't want that Hank Hill, right?
No. It looks like a knot hole on a fence post.
It's like that. Like
right.
your fingers just come out.
No, I think they want something to grab a hold of. I mean, I do.
No, I know they do. Chicks like a butt on a man. Like, they don't necessarily want you to be like the male iteration of J-Lo, but yeah, they like a little junk.
They want a little bit of meat.
Yeah.
So if you're on top and they're grabbing, holding on for the ride. It's
Well, just jeans and everything, just like eye candy. Just you see a girl with a good butt that walks by. Hey, they do the same thing. They like Dumb and Dumber. He must work out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, that's I don't know.
Don't skip leg day, fellas.
Leg day is a thing now. I read something like more younger generation are focusing on thighs and legs than they are even their upper body now.
It's funny because typically when you work your legs more often, it causes everything else to grow a little bit faster, because leg muscles are obviously one of the biggest muscles on the human body. So when you're pushing those really hard, it actually does boost your testosterone, which increases in your whole system, and it causes growth everywhere else. And I'm guilty of skipping leg day here and there. I don't really enjoy it, but I got to do it. Because it helps with everything else. If I'm bench pressing, or if I'm doing like a competition for bench press, you got to have some strong legs to help push for leg drive to push the weight up.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And so, but you are right. I see more girls. I see more guys that are doing more squats and doing deadlifts and things like that. And which is good. And we all have our favorite exercise that you kind of latch onto.
I grew up in the '90s where we wore shorts that passed our knees.
Oh yeah.
And now the thing I guess for kids is like they want those fucking Larry Birds on.
Oh yeah. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, you used to get beat up if your shorts were above your kneecap.
Well, I remember as a kid, back when I don't know if you guys had OP shorts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when we were probably 8th grade, me and my buddy Jason, we all lived in the same track, and there was these two girls that we all went to high school together with, and they were best friends and we were best friends, and every once in a while we'd get on our bikes and ride over there. And so we rode over there one day, and it's summer, and we're wearing our short shorts and our Velcro wallets, typical back in the day. And so he stops on his bike, and he's got his one leg, the pedals up, and he's got his leg up like this. And all of a sudden I see the two girls, they start giggling and looking down, and I'm like, what are they looking at? And at first I don't get what they're looking at. And I look down again, and my buddy Jason's balls were hanging out of his shorts because they're so short.
Man.
And I'm like, dude. And I look down, and he looks down, and he's like, oh my God. He's just so embarrassed. And he
couldn't even feel the wind on those fuckers?
No. And I felt so bad for him because the chicks, they're now laughing. 14 years old. It's how often you see a set of balls on a guy at 14. They're not attractive, let's face it. And so he turns around, he jumps on his bike, and he rides away. He's so embarrassed. He just rides straight home. And I'm like,
his balls just hanging behind like it's the back of like a Dodge.
Right. Like Jackass, where they do the old man with the balls hanging out. Yeah. And what do I say at that point? I'm like, I guess I better go with him. And it was never talked about. It was never talked about ever again. And I'm still friends with both the girls to this day. It's been since kindergarten.
Yeah.
Never once have talked about it.
How big was LA Gear here in LA?
LA Gear.
Remember LA Gear? They had those had the shoes that had like the spun little fins on the side of it.
Yeah, I don't remember a whole lot because when I grew up, it was all like Vans, which are obviously very popular today. Yeah. I don't remember any of my friends having.
I remember
those.
OP like you were saying, but it was LA Gear that became a big thing, and then it was British Knights.
Oh yeah.
The lights in the shoes. And they used to talk about, all those gangbangers are running off. We just see them.
Their feet are glowing.
There he goes over a fence.
But yeah,
I grew up around a lot of racism, so.
Well, we all have. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I look at old photos. My sister has all the.
Say it. He's got something cooking.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's
when you said it's unfortunate, something went off in his head.
It's not as funny as it is in my head. So.
Yeah, that'd be one of those things you have to edit out later. Yeah. Like, okay, that didn't sound very good.
Oh man.
But my sister, like when my parents passed away, she's got all the photo albums and she keeps that. And so every once in a while we'll get these random text messages of just these pictures of us back in the day, and I'm like, oh my God,
They're awesome though.
I love the fact because half the pictures she sends to me, I don't remember taking the photo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even remember that. I don't remember that. But it's the velour shirts or the Izod shirts or whatever it was, and then the corduroy OP shorts. And I forget what flip-flops were popular back in the day, but you look at some of that shit now, you're like, oh my God, we're so goofy looking.
Well, like you were saying, she sends you the pictures of it. The pictures are so few and far between. I mean, I guess you may have that one family where the dad was a photographer or something, but for most people, we're some of the last generations that didn't grow up on an iPhone, that don't have 10,000 pictures of them from birth, kindergarten, whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
like
half the photos she sends me are pictures of a Polaroid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When those were super popular back in the day.
Some of it's almost sad how little, like when you look at now, like if I was to have a kid or you guys have kids, like the documentation of their life, like when I look back at that, I was even blown away with did you ever go to somebody's house and they had the school pictures, kindergarten all the way through?
Oh yeah. That takes a lot of dedication.
I was never in a stable enough place where I had all of those. We've got them pieced together, but never like the collection where we're just going to wait for the next year and this picture's going to stay on this one wall and never move. Yeah,
all the wardrobe your mom made you wear.
But yeah,
you put my door things when I grew. You need to put like 8 houses together.
Yeah, exactly.
To get all the hash marks going up. What's up, guys? I need to drop in real quick and give a big thank you and shout out to thundermax EFI for helping me make this podcast trip possible. I just got home from a 28-day, 7,200-mile bike trip where I at least filled up my gas tank once a day. My 131 was humming through the desert, mountains, forests, and even plenty of rain. The thundermax ECM kept my bike running and operating like a champ. With its auto-tuning technology, the elevation, humidity, and temperature changes never affected my bike's performance. Their ECMs are a must for anyone looking to add all the Go Fast goodies to your EFI-equipped Harley Davidson. My Road Glide is paired with the thundermax cooling fan, which is available for the touring M8 models. Lane splitting in California's traffic and heat gets the motor oil hot, but with the fan, I was able to keep my bike's temps in the safe zone. Check out all these amazing products at shoptmax.com, and when you're ready to make the upgrade, use FASTLIFE at checkout to save yourself 10%. Now let's get back to the show.
Shorts, pictures, the yearbook,
good. Yeah, that's actually super smooth.
Yeah. I'll do that, and I'll just a couple pieces of ice and just let it sit for maybe 10 minutes.
I can do that straight with ice
and just sip it. Because right now we're doing. We're kind of slow to like all the Netflix series. We're finally watching Yellowstone.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Let me know when you want to buy a cowboy hat, dude.
Oh my God, no! I haven't gotten to that point yet. But and the funny thing is we tried watching it probably when it first came out a couple of years ago. And Lisa's from Colorado, and she grew up on a farm with horses, and she rode competitively and all that. So when we started watching this, she was like picking apart, like that doesn't happen, that doesn't So
and she was being a biker in Santa Ana.
Yes. And so I'm like, just enjoy it for what it is. It's entertainment value. I get it. I get what you're doing. Yeah. So we're on season 3 now. We just started season 3, and we're hooked. And but yeah, it's like we talk about moving to Colorado. And because I love it there. Every time we go back.
What part is she from?
She's from Grand Junction.
Oh, dude, it's nice there.
Yeah,
and got the Grand Mesa right there. That's one of the best rides. Dude. Grand Mesa over there, and Gunnison. I love those areas. It's all kind of in that little.
Yeah, her the first time I ever went back was her mom lived in a small little city called Paonia, and she lived on probably a 5 or 6 acre ranch at the time that she shared with her mom, who's since passed, grandmother, and so she had this huge ranch style house. She had a pole barn in the back that had like 7 or 8 beds and had a bar downstairs. And I'm like, I want this place. I want to move here.
Yeah.
And so eventually her mom talked about selling it, and of course she wanted way too much money for it, and we couldn't afford it at the time. But every time we go back there, when I fly back into LA, I'm like, you're dealing with traffic and all the attitudes and people flipping each other off. I'm like, why did I even come back?
Yeah.
Why did I come back? So we talk about it all the time, and nothing seriously yet, but if we do it, I told her, we'll rent the place somewhere in Colorado for a year to see if I even like it, I've never been through a full winter there.
Well, I heard that area doesn't get it as bad.
It has like a light dusting, so it stays on the ground for a couple of days and it melts off, and I'm okay with that. If it's 6 feet and they have to shovel the driveway every day, I probably wouldn't be. I wouldn't like it.
Because I fell in love with the town just south of there called Montrose.
Mm-hmm. I've been there.
Had a great time there. And I don't know what it was, just the time that I rode in, I was just in love with it. And I was like, I could do this. It's 800 miles from Sturgis. It was like right at like 890 to down here or something like that. I was like, it's close to everything I want to do.
Right.
But there's mountains and snow and
yes.
We have all year riding in Dallas, and I don't know if I want to give that up for.
And that's hard to give up.
There might not be snow on the ground, but I guarantee you it's fucking cold.
And I don't really do well with like super cold weather. When I start shaking, when I get so cold, I start shaking. I can't even hold a cup of coffee because it'll spill all over me. And so when we talk about moving, I said, well, we'd rent my place. She has a place in Long Beach. I have a place in Huntington. And I said, I wouldn't sell it. I would just rent it out for a year just to give it a trial, because if I did sell it, I couldn't afford to move back to California because prices are so out of control. And I bought my house 20 years ago. So, I couldn't afford the property taxes on it now if I had to, pay for what people like houses in my neighborhood are going for like 1.2 million. I bought it for 260. It's crazy, but the problem is like all my friends are here in Orange County, Huntington Beach area, and it would be very difficult. I mean, I'm sure I'd find new friends and new riding people, but I'm comfortable where I am, with the people and the friends that I have, and it's hard to give up.
Man, if you've got roots here, if you're like here and you can manage, I get it. It's hard to fucking walk away because man, it's crazy how like we were talking about this that we were in Venice. We're like, all these people around us, like, I feel like I make more money than they do.
And Venice is a shithole.
Yeah.
It's a nice area, but you go down by the water and all the boardwalk and all the homeless, and it just ruins it for everything, And we have a lot of homeless problems here in Huntington Beach because when the weather starts getting warm, they come from the north part of from the north areas of the town that are warmer, and they come down here at the south end by the beach because they can use the public restrooms. All the churches give food vouchers, so they get free coupons for Carl's Jr. And so there's no reason for them to leave. Yeah, it's like feeding cats. If you keep feeding them, they're gonna stick around.
Yeah, fucking cats, man. But no, I think Colorado will be good. I want to get out of Dallas at some point. I don't know when. Traveling this country, man, you see so many fucking like really badass places where it's like I could wake up to this, even if I can't ride.
Right.
Because at some point in my life, like I feel like it's not gonna my daily grind is not gonna be waking up and doing fucking 30,000-40,000 miles a year on a bike. Right. It's gonna be like taking it easy.
You're gonna slow down. Eventually you might be riding a trike.
Slow life garage.
Another thing about Dallas that makes me, as much as I've never really thought about saying it, leaving. You said it's year-round riding, and technically it is, but we've been at 100-degree temperature since almost when we left. So, and that won't stop until
September,
October.
End of September. Right, yeah. So it's one of those things. Yeah, you can technically ride, but it is fucking miserable.
Yeah,
it's almost baking. What you're saying about the cold. I'm at the point now. Gear, you can find gear to make the cold tolerable. When it's just miserable hot, there's nothing you can do about it. And we can't split lanes.
Right.
And it's
that's miserable.
And it's one of those things where there's times where I'm no bullshit. You're worried, is my bike gonna fuck up? It is so hot. Like you can't wear a helmet.
Especially when you're sitting on that hot asphalt. It's 130 degrees on the asphalt.
It's technically year-round riding, and it pays off in the winter and sometimes early spring, that kind of stuff. But man, it's not fun in the summer.
I'm surprised they haven't allowed lane splitting, because Arizona just finally passed it. It's funny, they think lane splitting is so dangerous, but they don't enforce. There's no helmet law. It's like, oh, we don't want you to split in lanes, but you don't need to wear a helmet. Don't worry about it. Like, that makes no sense.
Well,
to me
that's why
whatsoever.
like it's never gonna pass anytime soon until some of these old fucks die.
Oh yeah.
In Texas, because nobody wants to give up the helmet thing. Like we've become accustomed to wearing helmets, so
Right.
it's second nature. But the powers that be in Texas, they don't want to give up the helmet law for the lane split law.
Sure.
And then even if they did like legalize it, it's going to take 5 years of state funded promoting to get half of the population to go, I guess you can do it.
Right.
And hard law enforcement enforcing it, because
Yeah.
we're an ego state, man. You got too many trucks. You got too many people that fuck you. You know, like I
Right.
said, when it's miserable and you're trying to do that. Like, I'm getting out of town, dude. My bike's loaded up. I'm clearly getting. And you have people that'll see you coming, and they'll
they'll
move
block
up. They'll
you.
get in your way.
They'll cock
and
block you.
fucking flip you off.
Yeah.
You know, just,
Like-
and he's got nothing to do. He's stuck in. He's just mad that you're getting by on something he can't.
Yeah, it's like you offended him for something
Just
he
a
can't
bunch
do.
of- yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather be sitting in that air-conditioned car right now and
Yeah.
enjoying myself as opposed
Me
to
too,
you.
dickhead. But yeah,
Right. You know, because I remember last time in Florida we were lane splitting, and those people take it serious. I mean, there was old ladies flipping us off and
Yeah.
cutting into our lane to keep us from going and yelling and screaming at us. I'm like, holy crap! You know, these are all retired people, and I get it; they're a little grumpy because they're older, but they did not like the fact that we were lane splitting, and we shouldn't have been, but.
But
you know.
you're not hurting anybody. That's the
No.
thing. And I get it if you want to, you know, the crotch rocket's doing it, you know, 120 when you don't see them coming. But when you're talking about 40, 50 miles an hour,
Yeah.
getting through traffic and just filtering, it just doesn't make sense.
You know, and especially here in California, like on the 91 freeway, you know, you got a lane split. If otherwise, you'll be sitting in traffic all day long, and your bike will be overheating and it'll blow a head gasket or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
And I like lane splitting. I think it's great. But
How do you feel? Like I've done it so long, but do you feel like you're getting more accustomed to it?
Yeah, I love it. And again, just natural instinct. There's a lot of times where we're jamming along, and all of a sudden it starts to slow down, and my natural instinct is to just slow down and
Yeah.
pick that spot. And all of a sudden, you know, I'll see him. And oh yeah, we can do this. And it's just, and there's times where you come in. I've had a couple times where we're coming in hot and that use the Softail I'm on. It's the rear brakes almost don't work. It's all front brake. So sometimes being on the strips and the rumble and everything and hitting the front brake, it gives you a weird feeling. And then, like I said, it seems like it's 50-50 on the people that will acknowledge it and get way, and the people that do are awesome. They get way the fuck over.
yeah, and they
then there's
deserve a
people-
wave. You know, thanks,
and
man.
and I try to every single time. If they really go out of their way, I try to do it. And there's people that I don't know if I'd say they're full blown Texas where they get over, but they don't move.
They don't
they're
give- they don't give a
pulling the
fuck.
"I didn't see you" card or whatever.
They saw
and-
you.
And yeah,
they're
they
just being
don't.
assholes.
But even then, I'll take 50% on that. Like I
Right.
said, that just lightens up the bird. I like it. It's when we first did it, I was like, this is dumb, because I felt like we were abusing what probably the intent is. We were doing like 90. Where I was
Yeah.
I was like, this is kind of sketchy.
Scaring the hell out of people as you go by their
there's,
window.
like I said, when the traffic slows down a little bit, there's parts, and you know, as far as the lanes being wider, somebody explained that to me, and the way we were coming back almost from San Diego, just the middle strip. There's almost like a point.
Yeah, if
just
you're
for
in the
motorcycles.
HOV
so
lane.
it's like the two lane. You go
That's
right,
beautiful,
right in the
man.
little white
It
between two white
helps.
lines.
It helps so much.
Yeah, well,
And-
no, I remember like riding my crotch rocket back in the day. You know, it's such a narrow bike, you don't have to worry about taking mirrors off and
Yeah.
all that. And then with my FXR, same thing. You know, bars a little bit wider. But when I went to the bagger, I mean, that was a whole new learning process. I'm like, okay, I really got to watch mirrors, because I'm sitting up higher, and you know, all these truck mirrors have the extended mirrors now for towing or whatever, and you know, you're trying to avoid those, and
It's tough,
it can get sketchy. But
It's
once
way-
you get comfortable, it's okay.
It's way harder to split in stop traffic than it is if they're going like 25, 30.
Yeah.
I feel like there's enough gaps where you can kind of zip between them. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
and even a little bit faster, and it's fun. It's
yeah.
almost like real fun. But yeah, it's the stop and go traffic where you're just waiting on that one dude or girl that's not paying attention, that crosses lane. There's the shit when you see it online, you're like, oh, they were fucked. Like they had no choice.
They had no choice.
Or they had no chance.
Right,
Like that was
right.
you're just, or at least I am always waiting for that shoe to drop.
We
And that's
were-
the biggest thing that scares me.
Oh, yeah.
When we left Morgan Hill, we were headed towards Monterey. We were splitting. Remember that Corvette? There was a chick driving it too, a little cunt.
Oh.
And she
I slowed down because she had just enough. I was like, I think
She
this is
was
a porn
like-
star. She's,
Oh, really?
but yeah, like not like, oh, this is a model. I was like, she's driving.
dirty.
I was like, this, like, do I know you?
Yeah, I think I've seen your movies.
What's your handle?
Yeah, are you ATM, ass to mouth? What is your specialty?
Which one? But this chick, like, she saw us coming. She purposely got halfway over in the center lane. And I'm like, what the fuck? Obviously, I didn't know it was a chick or whatever because it's low and it's that. So then we would move and I'm behind her and she'd start moving over. And then I'd try to make a pass and she'd cut back over and get in the middle, like cross the middle lane or cross the line
Right.
to block it. And then eventually I just went over to the right shoulder and went around her. But it was like, to me, it's like, wow, like
You have nothing better to do
yeah,
with your day.
with the California plate, I could get it if it was like some fucking Florida plates or Colorado where they're not used to it. Like,
Right.
don't fuck this guy. But you're from here, you know this how this shit goes, right?
It's legal.
And I feel bad too because like whenever we lane split, especially when we like filter to the front on a light, and we are just like, oh, get the fuck out of the way, and we get to the front and they see Texas plates.
I don't feel bad at all.
I feel like
it's fun. I got some friends that ride, and a lot of times their women come with them, and they're worse than the guys are. Sitting on the back of bikes, they're flipping people off, they're smacking mirrors, they're pounding hoods, and I'm like,
there are chicks on the back.
yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, I slow down because I don't want to be associated with that while it's going on.
yeah.
And I'm waving, almost like I'm trying to make peace with everybody.
Sorry,
they're-
she's drunk.
Yeah,
Don't
she's
let
had
her.
way too
I
many.
don't know them.
You know. But yeah, I've got friends that have these shorty pipes and they just, they're revving the shit out of them. And I'm like, it's just embarrassing. I'm like, dude, you're scaring people to death. And, and I get what they're doing, but tone it down a little bit,
Yeah.
It's there's the way you ride, like whether you like it or not, the way you ride, it does reflect upon other motorcycles. Just the way like,
Oh, yeah.
and it's, I don't know, I just try to be if I don't have to be the dickhead doing that kind of stuff, I don't mean to be. We had a little bit on our way to the burrito place, we had a little confusion leaving San Diego Harley, and felt bad. I got cut over in front of this car, then immediately had to slow down, and we ultimately got a honk at, after another. But I was like, when they honked, I felt bad. I was like, I'm sorry. I know we're acting like we don't have our shit together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my thing is if I don't have to drive like that, I try not to, just because you don't want to put a bad taste in somebody's mouth, and you never know who they're going to encounter another mile down the road
And take their aggression out on some poor bastard that's trying to get to work.
Some dude on a Heritage is just trying to get home.
Right. And they group us all together, which is unfair.
Yeah.
And I've got friends that I don't like riding with because it's
100%
crazy.
intense, yeah.
I'm like, why?
Go ahead, dude. I'm still doing my gloves. I got to send a text.
Yeah,
okay. I'll meet you there. Yeah.
I know where we're going. I'll meet you there.
Exactly.
I'll meet you there, and then I just take my time and then I try to, keep the peace
I'm
of
the
all the
slow
people
poke
that
in
pissed off.
our core group. I'm the slow poke without a doubt, and I don't feel bad about it.
No, I've got like my buddy Matt. He always brings up the rear. That's his job. He likes being in the back, and and typically with our headsets, it's either me up front or Roji, and then we talk to each other, so we keep the group kind of, when it starts accordioning out or whatever, we keep the group close together. But there are times where he drops back so far that I'm like, is he back there?
Yeah.
Did he go down? What I miss? And
We
also
just send him the location.
We've got a report now over the years of doing this big trip where it's gotten to the point where I make sure and check in, each time gas stop, where are we going, double check. And at some point you kind of know, even if you don't get the exact gas stop, about the town.
Right,
And
right.
the little town.
You're going to pass it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's more enjoyable to sometimes go my own pace and vice versa. Some of the guys we ride with, or that I ride with, are flat out fast, man. Their bikes are fucking built. This trip, I'm on a borrowed bike. I think I technically don't have health insurance. So the one thing I'm doing this whole trip, don't go down.
No.
Don't go down.
I can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got, we had some good weather on this one. As far as like, when I say good, I mean some gnarly weather.
Right.
So yeah, it's, you do your homework, you learn from mistakes on getting separated to where you can mitigate those, whether it's download maps if you're going to be somewhere where your GPS isn't working, or on something like this, it's ultimately as easy as before you leave, double check with the one or two dude that's running the front. Go, what town are we stopping at? Just making sure, and then
I'll meet you there.
And knowing if it's one of those like, hey, dude, this next section we're going through is really gnarly. I may be 5 minutes. Y'all do your thing.
Yeah.
And worst case, and ultimately on my end, if it's one of those things where I'm running that much further behind, I expect not to have a last gas stop. If I get there and they're already eating snacks, like they're not still at the pumps, okay, this is kind of a gas and go for me. I'm not going to hold them up.
Right.
But I don't know. It all works out at the end of the day. And that's over a 2-week trip that we do. That happens 2-3 times maybe when we're going through the gnarliest of stuff. And like I said, depending on where it is, there's times where I tell them, I don't want to go fast. I want to soak all this shit in. And I get that you guys do. And
that's why we have a motorcycle.
Yeah,
that's why we have a motorcycle. You know, I tell everybody that I ride with, I've never ridden with them before, ride your own race, ride your own ride. You know, and that's why it is nice to give destinations like, hey, we're going to end up here. We'll see you there. You know, and then if we get there and 10 minutes goes by or 15 minutes, like, okay, then we send a scout out to head back down the opposite way to find them. And typically
it's usually like 3 to 8 minutes at the most, kind of thing.
Which really isn't. We do a lot of stuff like the Malibu canyons and do all that riding. And I'm not a real big canyon rider. I'm not real confident in leading the bike over. It scares the shit out of me, and I just do my own thing. Yeah. You know, and I try to ride with some of my buddies that are on these baggers that are on the tails of crotch rockets. They ride so good in the canyons, and it's pretty impressive to watch somebody motor around a big, 850
it's insanely
pound bike.
Impressive, yeah.
You know, and I remember once I was watching my buddy Eric, and he at the time he had a soft tail with large apes, lowered air suspension. You know, he's a Mexican guy, and he was on he was following this group of rice rockets. Yeah, and I remember watching the group, and they're turning around and like, this guy is on our ass.
Who's this dickhead?
You know, and he was forcing them to move over so he could pass them, which is unheard of. Yeah. And they go by, and I remember we stopped at the next gas stop, and we all pulled over, and they all walked over to him like, where did you learn to ride? And he's just that good on that bike. And I go, we've never been chased down by a guy on a soft-tail Harley with apes, and then actually passed us. You know, you made us uncomfortable. Like checking our mirrors, like we need to get out of this guy's way. Yeah, and it was pretty impressive to watch. You know, me on the other hand, I take my time. I don't want to go down. I just take my time and enjoy the ride. And,
Same way. And if you get that bug where you're doing that, and all of a sudden, I have a motocross background, so there's a tracking people down, chasing them down, whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, that's a fun thing, and I love when I think I'm way behind. Like, oh, dude, they're gonna be about done by the time I get there, and all of a sudden, whether you're looking at the phone, you realize, oh, we got 10 miles or whatever, and just hammer down. All of a sudden, you ride twice as fast as I've been riding, or all of a sudden, the confidence boost kicks in, and then as you're getting into the town, to look up and go, oh, there they are.
They weren't that far ahead of me.
Yeah, they're like 80 seconds ahead of me. Yes, it's one of those things. You're probably not running as slow as you think you are, and you're probably not running as fast as you think you are if you're an ego guy.
Right.
Just it works out, man. I love it.
Yeah, we definitely have a couple dudes. Our buddy Cody, Big Wheel Cody is what we call him because he came off a Big Wheel bagger. He's the fastest. I mean, he rides a soft tail lowrider, and he fucking. Me and him are usually the guys in the front when we lead the trips, and every once in a while, like, I can start carving, I can start hitting it pretty hard, but I get tired real quick. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, we're doing the tail of the drag, and I'm like fucking hitting it hard. I'm fucking in it, and then like I'm like, dude, I'm about done. I'm ready to fucking. My shoulders are cramping up and all that. I don't feel it.
We did the tail of the dragon on our trip last year, and it was raining. So it slowed us way down, and and I love that. I want to go back because there's this long sweeping embankment turns, and this and that, and I love that's Tennessee, right? Yeah. And I love Tennessee, so we went and stopped at John's DreamWorks.
Yeah, such a good spot.
Great guy, So we had set it up to where we'd all pull in, and they had oil ready for us, and they changed our oil and did the service on our bikes real quick, and then we'd hang out for a while. But the more I rode through Tennessee, I'm like, I could live here.
Tennessee's the shit, dude.
I could live here.
Knoxville, Nashville, Maryville.
Oh my God! And I remember we stopped at we were on our way out, and there was some little small mom and pop like breakfast joint that was kind of off the beaten path. And we walk in, and you walk into this, and it was like you walk back in the 50s. Nothing had changed. They had Coke signs up and all this stuff, and the waitress, who reminded me of Flo from that TV show Alice, whatever it was. She comes over, and she's super friendly, and we're sitting there talking, and the place was called like Al's or something.
Hit you with the sweetheart or honey.
Yeah. And she's rubbing your shoulders.
I love it.
She's working that tip. She knows we're from out of town, and
but that's just their nature too. That just
super friendly. Yeah. And I'm looking up, and I see this old guy sitting in the corner, and he's got law enforcement pictures all above him. He's wearing canine and all this stuff, and obviously he's a former cop or whatever. And so I turn around, I go, do you own this place? He's like, yeah. He goes, I've been retired for 20 years. He goes, I was sheriff in this town, And then my buddy owned this place, and then when he decided to sell it, I was looking for something to do, so I bought it, and now I run it. And just a good old boy, you know, and just super friendly. He gave me his card. He goes, hey, anytime you guys are back in town, he goes, you can stay at my house.
Nice.
And everybody we ran into was just that nice.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. I love the whole area and just the off the beaten path roads and through the nice going through all these, you know, twisty turns, and all of a sudden you got a house and people are waving at you.
Yeah.
They know we're not from the area, you know, but
It's a tourist trap too. I mean, not trap, but it's a tourist destination to ride those roads. And so, you know, when the locals realize that their economy depends on that sometimes, and they appreciate you, versus like Daytona is full of people that don't want you there.
they don't want you there.
Yeah, they're like, fucking leave, blah blah blah. You know, they don't need the tourism money anymore. They fucking do.
Yeah. Every town does.
But Sturgis is the exact opposite, where they're like, yes, I'm leaving. Here's my house. It's Airbnb'd. You can put as many campsites as you can think in the yard. They're this much money. Like, they're leaning into the fact that, like, yo, like this is, you know,
This is built-in income
This is
every year.
business, yeah.
You know, and we were at Sturgis. We didn't go to Sturgis, but we were there like 2 weeks before or after. And I don't like big events like that. You know, I don't like dealing with all the drunks and all that, and just, you know, the brotherhood and all that stuff. It just drives me crazy.
brother.
Yeah. And so we were there, and I remember there was a small little gas stop just right outside of Sturgis, and I don't remember the name of it. It was a gas station / bar. They had like one pump, and the door, on this door as you walk in, it says, you know, shut the fucking door behind you. And I'm like, I like this place, you know. And I walk in, and some old guys run the place, and as soon as I walk in, it's like the music shuts down. Everybody turns around, looks at me, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm just gonna get some gas and some food, maybe a beer. And I end up talking to this guy, and he's ended up being just a cool old dude, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we're gearing up for Sturgis and all the idiots that come out here, you know. And he goes, I appreciate them because they're all stopping here to get gas. They're all stopping here to drink my beer, you know. And he goes, and I make 75% of my yearly income in this 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, so he appreciated the fact that people were spending money there. And he was grumpy, you know, he was quite older, you know, and obviously he's been there for a long time, but it was
seen
super
it
cool.
all.
Yes.
I wonder what his idea of the idiot, when he says, "Oh, the idiot's coming here." I wonder who he's talking about. Just like
I don't know. I hope he wasn't
Hog
referring to
chapter,
me.
Hell Yeah Brothers. Is he talking to the younger guy? Like, or is he just? Is it
The yuppie
everybody?
lawyer.
Probably the
It's
weekend warriors
everybody.
that trailer the bikes there, you know, and park
The guys
off
with the do-rags and stuff
You know,
on.
and I don't know. There's some people I know that we have a bar called Cook's Corner.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cook's, it's not that far from us.
Yeah.
And they trailer their bike to Cook's, or just right outside Cook's, unload it, and then ride into Cook's, and then ride through like Ortega Canyon, and then come back, and they live in Huntington Beach. Like, all that work? We just ride your bike there and then back. That's why we have it. And then just, I guess he didn't like riding, you know, in traffic, and he liked getting out in the open area. I'm like, I would never do that. It's too much work.
It is.
Just time to
sit
sell
in
your
traffic
bike.
with your truck and trailer.
Yeah, just sell your
fuck
bike. It's
that.
time to sell
Yeah.
your bike. You know, and
Well, I feel like with the people that don't like the bikers, they don't like difficult people.
Right.
You know, when you get, you know, like I said, there's a lot of entitlement that happens when you got a group of guys on a bike, a group together, and they walk into a gas. The pump doesn't work.
Right.
What the fuck, man? I gotta come in here and fucking swipe my card. You know, that type of shit.
Right,
Right.
right.
And that's just assholes.
Yeah, it just
right?
gets old.
It is.
And we
you
don't.
know?
None of us like those people.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I find it funny that the older I get, the more I hate people. You know, I'm less tolerant of people, and I call people out on their bullshit. You know, I have no problem. Where before I wouldn't have said anything. And
But are you more appreciative of people that are cool?
Oh yeah. And,
know what I mean?
and the salty of the earth people, I love them.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find people like that. And when you do, you just want to hold on to them because it's so, you know, rare. You know, and so yeah, I don't know. I just I try not to be so pissed at people all the time,
Yeah.
but they're easy targets because they do stupid things all the time.
I know the thing, man. I get it. You know, when you hear people acting certain ways, or, you know, just being in the motorcycle industry, you hear, you know, people on this podcast listen to me talk about the jokes of customers, and when you get other brands on here and they talk about the shit they've dealt with, then you start to hear this and understand that, like, hopefully they'll be like, yo, I don't want to be one of those guys.
Right.
I'm going to be more mindful of the way that I talk and things, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, man, you know, things that seem innocent when people do online, like, hey, man, where's my parts? Like, does this post have anything to do with your parts?
It's easy to talk shit off a keyboard. Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny because they would never walk in.
I don't feel like they're talking. I think that they're in their mind. I said it in a kind of a aggressive way. I think in their mind, just like, hey, man, how's that order I just placed?
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not realizing that it comes off douchey as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because, like, for one,
we're not Amazon.
I have no idea what order you just placed. It went through a website, through a fucking channel, and it's getting fulfilled at the shop. And, you know, if you have all that stuff, you probably have somebody pulling parts or ordering parts
sure.
to do it. But, man, just so much of that shit, dude.
Well, it's, and I'm learning to be patient. You know, I've been a lot worse where, you know, I like shit being done yesterday.
Yeah.
And so over the last few years, I've learned to realize and appreciate the hard work that people put into, you know, owning a small business. And it's not like Amazon where I get on my phone tonight and order something and it's at my doorstep tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way. And so it took me a little while to figure that out. Like some of these small businesses, they're a one-man show or two, you know, a family, whatever. And, you know, it doesn't do anything to blow their phone up or blow up, you know, call them out on Instagram because you're pissed because your parts took 7 days to get here, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I had a real unfortunate situation where I had a guy order a Simpson helmet from me before I left. And I placed the order, and usually, and this dude was in Oklahoma, so usually that order would get placed. The next day it ships out, and so 2 days, 3 days tops, because they're within 1 day of shipping, he would have had the helmet.
Right.
And I thought that the helmet was in stock, I guess. But then today I just got a text from like, hey, man, the helmet finally showed up. It's fucking 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So it had to be out of stock. That's the only thing I could think of. But I was like, fuck, man. Like, fortunately, the dude was cool as shit. But
Right. Yeah, you could have got that douchebag who just put an entire post, called you out on social media, you know, and hoping everybody would jump on the bandwagon and agree with them. But, you know,
what I like about my brand is nobody can say anything bad about me except that I'm an asshole.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay, you know? It's funny because I one of the things I wish I could do is paint.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have an eye for it. I don't have the talent, you know, and I can't rattle can stuff without it running down the sides of things, you know.
Neither can I, by the way. It's hard.
It's hard, you know.
Spray cans are hard.
But when you really watch somebody that knows what they're doing and the amount of work that goes into a complicated paint job, even a simple one.
Simple ones are harder.
You know, I remember
what Bondo does is not easy.
So
you know what I mean?
I tried it. So I knew what color to get so I just bought a Trask swing arm.
Yeah.
And so we just had it powder coated all black, and then the side panels are carbon
fiber.
So I wanted it to match the rest of my bike. So I got on House of Color and I ordered Pagan Gold. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to save a little bit of money and do it myself. And the paint gets there, and you know, when I get on, I'm a YouTube painter, so I get on YouTube and see how to, you know, Scotch Brite or, you know, rough it up so the paint sticks and all that stuff. So I'm watching this, I'm like, I got this. So I start spraying away, and there's bubbles everywhere, and you know, and I get to a point where I start to color sand it, and it looks okay, but it's so many imperfections. I'm like, so I start over again. I sand it all down and try it again, and it comes out worse. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This is stupid. So I got to the point where they were paying gold, but they just looked like shit. You know, when I'm trying to justify it, it's down low, it's behind a pipe, you know, I really won't see it, so it's not that big a deal. But the anal part of me was like, no, I can't. Yeah. Come on. So I called Bondo, like, you want to fix my fuck up? And he's like, bring him down. So I take him down there, and he's like, you know, actually, he goes, this one actually isn't bad. You know, he goes, there's some imperfections and this and that. And he goes, did you use a tack cloth? I'm like, no, I just rubbed it down with a terry cloth or whatever it was. And you can see where like the oil in your hands were, and you see your fingerprint here. And he's pointing all this stuff out, and I had no clue.
Yeah, it's like surgery, but it's like surgery if you don't know what you're doing, like what you're doing, because it seems like that. But for us, it's like, I don't know, it's like fucking drinking Pepto-Bismol. It's that simple. You know what I mean? Like it's not that hard.
And that's just years of doing it, you know, and
it's like we probably are doing things. We're just more conscious of how we handle things in our shop.
Right.
Like in my shop, you're never going to see a can of Armor All or WD-40. And when I have certain things, I'm like, somebody in the area of my shop, outside somebody's house, spray WD-40 while I have my booth on. It'll suck the air in. And, you know, silicone is the enemy of paint.
Right.
And so it fucking reacts. And if I like use silicone in my shop, which is what a lot of Armor All is, and I touch the handle to go on my booth,
it's
and then
contaminated already.
Now, you know, that's contaminated. Now I got to thinner that down. It's wild. Or if it lands in my filters, and then it stops, but then later on it might pull through.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that sensitive.
It is.
You know, I mean, that's crazy. And that was one of the things that Bondo told me. He says, you can see where, he goes, what'd you use to clean this with? And I forget what it was. I'm like, I don't remember. And he goes, well, there's oils in it. And he goes, and you can see the oil in the clear. Because I actually bought some clear too, and I cleared it and tried color sanding. And it was just.
Well, it's crazy. Like you don't live far from Coast Airbrushes down here, I think in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been buying shit from there since the fucking early 2000s, and they sell like the aerosol, clear House of Color stuff.
Right.
Which is hard to use. I'll be honest with you. Like it's hard to spray can stuff.
Yeah.
Because you don't really have control over such a short pressure.
Right.
You
it's almost like either all or nothing. You really can't feather it. And
that's why like graffiti artists, they use the strokes of their hands to do thick, thin, light. You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there one time. I think Rhino, who painted.
Yeah, Rhino did
Roji's bike. Yeah, and that turned out pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. And then because I was actually looking at buying a Simpson helmet, the two-tone where I think the back half is carbon and the front's gloss black.
Oh yeah, that's the mod. So they come that way.
Yeah, they come that way. So I figured Roji actually sent me that. He was like, dude, he goes, get Rhino to spray the back of the helmet to match your carbon, and leave the front, you know, the gloss. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. So I haven't tried one of those helmets on yet. I don't know whether I will like it or not. But
what are you riding, a Bell right now?
Shoei.
Shoei, yeah. Well, Shoeis are good helmets, man.
The 1400.
Yeah, Shoeis are. I ran Shoeis a lot when my sport bike days. But yeah, man, once I started, I just have a relationship with Simpson.
Right.
Bells make great helmets as well. But you know,
do you have the modular?
I've been wearing the modular on this trip. That's what my helmet is, and. Honestly, I don't get what, and I'm not saying this like people shouldn't have an opinion, but I don't understand everybody's like need from a helmet. Like, do you want it so quiet that you can't hear cars coming up behind you?
Right.
Or do you want it, like, I understand like if you have like a leak or some kind of like annoying noise, but just normal noise of the road is kind of important.
Yeah, while you're out there, yeah, you want to hear it.
But then again, like, I don't know what people's expectations. Like, if you want it to be so quiet, you know, like, so Shoei's like your Shoei might have like the extra thicker lower piece that like feels like you're putting a condom on your head.
Right.
Basically,
right.
Those help reduce noise, but they also make airflow horrible.
Yeah, then you're sweating. And,
exactly. So there's all these like, the thing is, all the things people want in helmets, there's a trade-off on the other end. You're not, if you're getting more of this, you're getting less of that.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, you know, I've been looking at the modulars lately just because I like I said earlier, sometimes I get lazy and I hate taking my helmet off.
Dude.
It stops. I'd rather just be able to pop it open, have a burrito, have a beer, whatever.
I thought that it was so goofy, but I fucking love it.
You love them now?
I forever. You know, the very first modular that came out from Simpson, they sent me one. I painted it. I ran it for a couple months, sent it back to them. They took it to AIM Expo to unveil it. And I was like, not really my thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But stoked to be a part of it, right? Sure. This trip, I specifically wanted a modular. And I found the size that fits me good because I'm an awkward size in modular. I'm kind of like in between a medium and large.
Okay, right.
So I ended up going with a medium, and I just massaged the foam to give me a little bit more space because a large is too big and it starts to kind of move around.
Sure.
And dude, I fucking love it. Mm-hmm. Every time we get somewhere and he's like he's gonna say something to me, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
what's up?
Yeah.
And I'm so jealous. Like,
my God.
I love my helmet, but I want one bad.
I had a dream that I actually had a modular helmet on, this is when everybody was coming out with hot sauce. You know, Jeff Holt, Danny G, you know, Roji had his hot sauce. I don't know. It was all of a sudden, everybody had hot sauce.
Yeah.
And I had a dream that I was on a bike, and I had a burrito in one hand, and I had whoever's hot sauce in the other, and I'm doing like 80 miles an hour, and I pop it open, and I'm putting hot sauce on my burrito and eating it on a ride, and I'm like, that would be pretty cool.
It's break the internet type stuff.
I know.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly it. It is convenient. I wish I don't have enough room on my bars for a cup holder, but that would be the shit too, to just be able to take a drink or something.
Yeah. You know,
water.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I got a friend that wears the what do you call them? Camelbacks.
Camelbacks, yeah.
You know, he's got it up there and he slides it under there and he drinks it, and I'm like, it's kind of a pain in the butt because his helmet's so close to his face. It's like you almost have to feed it down, you know, just to get it so you can drink out of it. Like, it doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah, I don't need to drink that bad.
No,
you know what I mean? I can just stop and open the saddlebag or something.
Yeah, because we typically do 150 miles and we'll get gas, you know, so that's about our 150 miles and we stop, you know.
That's a comfortable spot too. I mean, even baggers, like when you start getting the 128s or the big built motors, like, you know, you're lucky if you're going to run 80 miles an hour, 85, like if you get 150 out of it, you're doing well.
Yeah, you're doing well. Yeah, we actually got a trip coming up in into August. We're doing oh my God, Spearfish, Montana. I think it's called Spearfish or Whitefish. It's one of those. Whitefish, yeah. So one of the guys we ride with, he works for Quicksilver. And so the owner of Quicksilver has a seriously huge cabin right on the water in Whitefish. And so we got this trip plan where we're riding up separately because Roji's doing something different, but me and a buddy of mine are riding up the coast up to Oregon into Washington, and then we're gonna come back down and then ultimately meet them at Whitefish and stay there for 4 days. And I love, you know, and so I'm looking forward to that trip. But I'm looking at maybe getting that helmet before then because you know, something a little bit different. And then the group is then, except for me and my other buddy, but they're heading over to Durango for Four Corners Rally. And this would be my first year missing it in the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, I've done it. You know, so we're gonna say goodbye in Montana and then come down and just take the 15 down through Vegas and all that and melt in the heat. But it would be nice to have that new helmet by then, you know, especially if I get it painted to match the bike. Yeah,
let me know. I'll sell you one.
That'll look good. That would look good. I'll let you paint it too. Just have fun with it.
So you're a traveling dude. You're talking about going to Alaska. How many of the Continental of the 48 have you hit?
Probably 35.
So a lot.
Yeah, my daughter bought me one of those maps. You scratch off almost like a scratcher.
Yeah.
And so I'm scratching off, and I'm like scratching each state, and I'm like, man, and we haven't really ridden along Canada, and so those we haven't hit yet. And then some of the upper, like Maine, up towards that area, we haven't hit.
So that would be my next one. Of what you haven't hit yet, what are you most looking forward to? Like, what's when you look at that map, what's the tickles you?
I love the area of, I've never been, but pictures is Maine.
Yeah.
I want to go there and spend some time there. And it's funny, quick story, just totally off base here, but my brother did like the 23andMe. We're trying to find out some information on my dad, my mom.
Yeah.
And we end up finding that my dad had an affair, like between my brother and I back in 68 or 69, and we have a half sister, and then we ultimately found out that he's got another half sister that he didn't even know about, that's, you know, his mom at the time had a second marriage. Well, she lives out in Maine and wants us to come out and visit her. My brother and my sister already went out there, so that'd be one of the reasons why I'd want to go.
Nice.
And both my brother and my sister said that it's absolutely gorgeous out there. Yeah, you know, so I want to do that. It'd be a nice little ride. You know, whether I did it solo or took a buddy and did it, whatever. You know, because I like solo rides every once in a while. You know, there'll be times where I'll shoot to Parker for a couple of days and stay there, or go to Phoenix or whatever. You know, and just sometimes I like riding by myself. You know, it gives me time to think and
me too.
Just
I do
you know
too.
Whatever. Yeah. So I like that too, but I also like the group ride. I don't like big groups. I like 4 to 5 people. I think it's kind of the perfect size.
We're 8. We're a group of 8. We do 2 hotel rooms, 4 beds, 2 per bed.
Yeah.
we're having a good time.
Yeah, that's good. You know, you got to save money too because it gets expensive on the road, especially now with gas prices. Even though you're on a bike, still.
Yeah, I think this trip, he's been keeping track of all the gas, but I want to say that it's going to at least be in the $1,500 range.
Oh yeah, you figure now it costs you let's say an average $5-6 a gallon. You know, a 6-gallon tank.
$37 is what I filled up in Venice.
You know, and you get 100. Maybe 200 miles if you're lucky.
Nah, not me.
You know, so 150-ish. So it gets expensive. You know, you think you should be riding around the bike would be cheap, but not anymore. You know, and then, you know, prices have gone up everywhere else, and food. It's just, you know, it just gets more expensive to do anything anymore.
Fortunately, once we got down here to back to like Socal and LA and shit, we weren't traveling as much because every day since June 1st, we've done at least almost 100 miles, and in the last couple of days.
It was every day since June 1st. It was multiple gas stops. We were doing 300. I would say almost averaging probably at least 300 miles.
Your
a day.
ATM people are calling you like someone's got your card.
I'm so worried. Every time I'm hitting the pin, like,
right.
let me put the pin in so you don't know I'm fucking around.
Yeah.
Like, please don't cancel this card. And then like you're saying, since we've been in SoCal, it's been nice being able to go 2-3 days sometimes without filling up and still being able to run between and do hit places up, but not having to fill up every other day. But when we're with the 8 dudes total, dude, we're filling up. I mean, we're not filling up, but the same thing. You're doing that 150 miles on the bigger days,
well,
3-4 times a day.
Yeah, you know, that's $36 a day, and, you know, in hotel room. Even though you're splitting it amongst 4 guys, it still adds up.
So the beautiful thing about our trip is we all pay in forward, and we have our fund where all the lodging is paid. Like, we have an account for that. So when we get there, we don't do a bunch of
we put money in like 6 months in advance, $500 a piece. That gave us $4,000. And then we made about $2,000 off our camp out, so we put that on top of it, and so we had $6,000. So at the end of this, we ended up not spending the whole $4,000 on lodging.
Right.
So we divvied up the $2,000 to everybody to help cover the gas.
See, that's cool. That's a smart way of doing it. That way, it's not hit all at once. At least you're preparing for that money to be going out 6 months from now, and you're starting to plan for it.
Oh, it helps so much. Like I said, putting the $500 up front, you don't really miss it, and then all of a sudden, when you get to actual doing the trip, even if you're coming in lean, knowing that every night your lodging is paid for, whether it's a hotel, Airbnb, or camping,
right?
It's already paid for.
You're good.
All you're paying for is your gas, whatever T-shirts, bullshit you buy, and your food. I mean, you can't really get better.
Because on a 30-day trip, you know, once you sit down and kind of go over all your ATM receipts and all that, you're like, I spent a lot of money on this. Right?
I was kind of thinking with the extended version of this, and we bought 2 hotel rooms on the back half because fortunately I have so many connections in California. We've been able to sleep at homies' houses,
which is nice,
or family. Tonight I'm staying with my wife's dad. See how that goes, and then
father-in-law stuff.
He'll sleep by the time you get home.
I'm looking forward to meeting him. I'm going to charm him, chat him up.
All right. He's like, I wish you were my son-in-law.
I don't want to be.
I can't paint, my man.
Yeah.
I'm cooler than Jace.
I'm cool. Yeah. I'm good.
And then fortunately, with all the other homies coming in, like I've been talking about this a little bit, but I'm really stoked to see some of my other friends from, California probably doesn't feel it, but there is like this little division between the Rockies.
Sure.
There's everybody on the Arizona, Cali, and then there's the rest of us, right?
Right.
And we've essentially built such an amazing community nationwide on that side. We got homies all over the East Coast, the Midwest, and they come together. They do these events together. They ride together. And I've done a lot of miles with a lot of them, and I'm so stoked to be doing some of that. For California to be such a big part of my life and my, history of my brand and things like that, to be out here with some of those dudes is going to be pretty amazing.
Oh yeah. I love. I mean, I think Born Free is like one of the better shows, that I've been to. And I remember I've missed one Born Free in the last 13 years, whatever. And I remember when I went to the first Born Free, and it was on the city side street in, oh God, what city was that? Orange or somewhere.
Yeah.
And I remember it was just this one long strip of street where it's all like industrial, and they had like Signal Hill cops or on either side just kind of watching, and it was to see it to where it is now, where it's not so free anymore, but because it's expensive to put that show on. I don't care who you say it is, but it's a lot of money and a lot of people donating time and stuff. And so to get to the point now where it's so big, now it's 2 days and there's all these shows and raffle bikes and so it's pretty impressive on what they've done.
Yeah.
But what I love about the show is a lot of people that I don't see a lot come down for it. And so when I go to Lisa says I network. I'm like the mayor. So whenever I go, I'm like a politician. I'm talking to all the people that I haven't seen in a long time. And the last time she went, she was like, I was slowing you down, and she goes, I wish I hadn't go because it almost felt like I had to turn around and make sure she was okay because I was talking to people and she's like, I don't know who these people are. Yeah. And so I asked her, I go, are you going to go this weekend? She's like, nah, that's your thing. She goes, just sell my ticket. And then he goes, you go have fun.
There you go.
Catch up with all my buddies.
It's a worldwide event, man. Like, we were over at Power Plant the other day, and
Power Plant.
The daughter of the guy that owns Moon Eyes popped in, and they're so cool. He saw her, hey, how's the short? Just like they had hung out a week ago,
right?
And it's just she loves him. And he's such a big thing to their scene, but the people at Moon Eyes were over there. The day.
We were at Bassani yesterday.
Nothing.
Yeah,
and the Australians.
Yeah,
HT
Hoonigan.
Yeah,
and his
my
wife.
God, what is his name?
Alex.
Super nice guy.
Alex?
No, it's not Alex. Oh my God,
his wife's in Kate or something.
Katie or something.
Katie James or something like that. Yeah,
but they were hanging out Bassani
or something like that.
Yeah. Everybody's in town. I mean, it's just one of those things where and especially after COVID, after everybody's kind of like, okay, we're done with the bullshit. Fuck, is this the first one since it was last year?
It's the first one back to the normal time, but last year was in August.
Dude, this one's gonna be a banger. People are coming out of
it's
the
gonna be
woodwork
crowded.
For this one.
It's gonna be crowded.
It's a worldwide event,
and I'm hoping the weather is not so. It's been kind of rainy lately, the last few days. I think it's to be okay, but so I love Born Free, but one of the shows I want to go to is Moon Eyes in Japan. And
dude, who doesn't?
And I was supposed to go last year with Jeff Holt, or 2 years ago, but that's right when COVID hit. So he's like, dude, we can, because his company was going to pay for my ticket and all that, and he goes, you're going to love it there, and so it got canceled, and I'm like, damn it, that may have been my one possible opportunity to go that wouldn't have cost me a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that it comes back again and I could talk to him and invite him again.
They're going to treat you like Hulk Hogan over there.
Well, that's what he said. He goes like your beard and me walking around there, he goes, you'll be getting stares. Like they don't see people like that all that often.
You're going to create a whole new trend over there. They're going to
start growing beards.
A whole bunch of Asians who's jacked. Fucking.
Yeah. They won't be as tall as big, but be jacked. They're going to have the ponytail beard.
Real thin beards.
Yeah. It's all like falling apart, like catfish hair.
It's fucking gangster to me, dude.
Well, it's funny because Roji went to Japan.
Ray Liotta died. Are you taking over the Del Fuegos?
Yeah, Roji went there a couple years ago for a Black Flies event, and I don't think it was for Moon Eyes, but they went there for something else. And he says, and Roji's a big guy. He's probably 6'3", 280. And he's walking down the street, and he walked, and some kid's like, Godzilla, and just made a comment, and he's like, what did you just say, and because they don't see people that big there, because it's a shorter, typically they're all short.
Yeah.
And here's Roji, just walking down the neighborhood, his long dicky shorts and flies, hair slicked back, just looking like Roji.
Yeah.
But he told me, he was like, I was getting attention everywhere. It's weird. Yeah. They're not used to seeing people like us. I'm like, I want to go.
Wild. Yeah.
I want to go.
I do want to go. I've always been a huge fan of the Japanese culture and just their car culture, their bike culture, everything.
And so I think some of the best bike builders are in Japan now. I mean, I love seeing the stuff that they're coming out with, and I don't remember their names, but I follow 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, their shit's dope.
Same.
It's awesome. It's different. And they have just a different style than we have here. Which is probably cultural, but still, I love it all.
Definitely influenced by here.
Oh yeah. How could it not be?
And it's a culture thing. One of my absolute favorite followers on Instagram is a guy from Japan, but I don't even know how much he's in the industry he is, but he does what he does. He he's nuts about dynas, and they camp and they go see some of the most beautiful shit in their country on the regular, and they have little videos of them cooking and frying stuff like at the Mount Fuji's right there, and it's just the most where. But they do what we do. We go camp in Oklahoma.
Right.
They go camp at Mount Fuji, but other parts of the country, obviously. And I love following him. And I don't know, you see the locations. I don't know what the fuck it says.
Right.
But I tag on it and see where it is and kind of track it across the country.
Sure.
And, dude, he travels. He does what we do, but in Japan. And
that's cool.
He's literally one of my favorite follows on Instagram, just because it's like. He would be at T-Bar Tuesday with us if he lived here. Like, just the same thing, just opposite sides of the world.
It's funny because, when I was super hesitant. Like, when Facebook first came out, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife at the time, she made me an account, and then I got hooked because I was hooking up with a bunch of high school buddies and guys I played ball with and whatever. And then I got sick and tired of all the drama with Facebook, and then I started my Instagram account. And I have so many people that I consider friends that I've never actually met or shook their hand.
Yeah.
Because you spend a lot of time online talking and stuff, and you can tell that they're cool people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, one day we're going to meet.
Yeah.
We're going to meet, shake hands, and I consider you a friend. And it's cool, and it's kind of hard to weed out the knuckleheads, but, eventually you figure who they out. And
it's not hard. They weed themselves
and
out.
And you mute them or whatever,
Real recognizes real on that when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I got some people that follow me that just I think they're in love with me. They're sending me messages, and I'm like, I'm blocking a lot of them. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't want to deal with you. You're a weirdo. And then for a while there, Lisa was getting hit up about, can we get some feet pictures? And I'm like, babe, I go, start an OnlyFans and spend, charge $20 for a toe shot. Let's make some money off these idiots. And I go, we'll send pictures of my feet. I don't care, whatever. Yeah, let's take advantage of it.
I wish people would jerk off to my feet. Are you kidding me?
How cool! What a compliment that is.
Yeah,
you think about it, like, all right, I got something going on. They like my big toe. Whatever. I don't. Whatever.
I'm too self-conscious to show my butthole, but dude, my feet all day long. Come on, hit me in those DMs if you want.
It's not even bleached. Well, it's funny. Born Free, they came out with the worst tattoo contest, and they actually posted it not too long ago. And I remember 4 or 5 years ago, I was at
Cade. You're talking about?
Is that the guy that had the butthole?
Did you say Dashin' whatever?
Oh no, not Dashin' Daddy. No. So, but we were standing on right at the front of the stage, and they were doing the worst tattoo competition. And some guy walks up there, and he's kind of tall, skinny kid. And I'm like, what has he got on him? And all of a sudden he turns around and he drops his pants and he spreads his butt cheeks. And I swear to God, I wish I would have taken a picture of this. So he's got his butthole that looks like a dinner plate, and there's a fork and a knife on either side. And I'm like, oh my God. And he ended up winning the worst tattoo contest.
Or the best tattoo
contest.
Best.
And I'm like, how much did he have to pay that poor artist to get in there between the crack and tattoo your asshole?
I feel like that started off with, you won't do it.
Probably, yeah. Here, hold my beer, and so I love that stuff. I think it's so funny.
The last Born Free I went to was in 19 when we all went there, and that's when we saw the girl go extra hard to win the fucking wet t-shirt contest.
Oh, she took her top off, right, or something?
No, she took her fucking butthole out.
Yeah,
oh, that's right. Okay, I do remember that. I wasn't there for that, but I saw a video.
Yeah,
someone sent me a video.
She was hitting people up, I guess, a day or two after, going, "Hey, can you please delete all that stuff?"
She must have been hammered.
Yeah, but she showed butthole and everything. What's the guns where they soak it all up? It's just one tube and they just
the super soaker or whatever.
People were just super soaking.
Oh, they're giving her a douche,
and she loved it.
Oh my God!
We were a ways back. We're like, I can't believe this happened. I love Born Free.
Yeah, this is the greatest show ever.
Yeah, I like how they would go extra hard. I don't know how they got away with that though, because the woke women out here, they ride bikes.
That was 2019. That was a different time.
All the babes.
That was a different time.
What do you call them? The Litas.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, they're hardcore.
Yeah.
They're hardcore. I know my buddy Corey, who has Xland, he's been blocked from them because he'd make fun of them all the time about taking pictures, standing on their bike and taking pictures, or just whatever. So he's like, I'm still blocked. They won't unblock me. I go, they never will.
Corey's a national treasure.
He's awesome.
I was wearing my Haggard when I listened to Haggard, so doing my neighbor's shirt earlier, but I got sunburned, so I threw this one on. But yeah, that's
You know, he's one of those
love that
guys
dude.
who's just the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
You know, he just does his thing. You know, he travels in his van and his dog and then sells some T-shirts here and
He's
there.
not fake, dude. He doesn't give a fuck.
No, he doesn't.
He's not going to give you the warm and fuzzies when you walk up.
No, you got to earn it.
Yeah,
you got to
exactly.
earn it from him. And
But
I
when
remember
you do, he's a fucking rad guy to hang out with.
when I was there a couple of years ago, and we all ended up going. It was me, him, some girl he was dating at the time, Jeff Holt, Maggie, his wife, and all that. So we ended up at some bar, and we get hammered, drunk. And the more he drank, the more kind of just typically, you know, touchy-feely and just,
Yeah.
and he's super cool, you know, and I kind of got to know him that night, and now we're solid, but he's funny as all hell, you know, he's just like a throwback.
Me and Kyle, our buddy Drive Ass Honky, we ran into him in Milwaukee for Mama Tried. And then in Fandango in Fredericksburg, Texas, which I think was his only Texas event for the year, earlier this spring. And that was one where we're yucking it up, hanging out, and all of a sudden he goes, fuck this shit. He like draws down the tent, he shuts down his booth, and we go out and watch the flat track races or the chopper dirt, and just yucked it up. A lot of stories that can't be told on the podcast on that one, but great fucking fun, dude.
Yeah, I've met a lot of good people on Instagram. You know, it's funny. I don't. I have my core group of friends, and then you got the outward, you know, the umbrella that kind of incorporates all of them. But there's so many solid guys that I would, and women that I would have met had been for motorcycles. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
It's cool, you know, and they're all like-minded. They're typically, you know an asshole when you see one, but there's a lot of good people out there, and that's what kind of gives me the faith in humanity that we're gonna be okay. But
I think the real people attract that through social media. They see it through how people curate their pages,
right,
and things like that. I mean, some people probably are super fake on there, and you're gonna figure that out real quick.
Sure.
But
well, I had some kid say, like, he goes, "I want your life." He goes, "It looks like everything is perfect." I go, "Do you think I post the bad stuff? I don't post the bad stuff. I have problems just like anybody else, but I just don't advertise it. You know, I'm not looking for sympathy. That's something we deal with in private. You know, I go, if I need more followers, I'll post a picture of Lisa naked in the pool.
Yeah.
You know, I go, I get an extra 100 followers just for that. You know, but
Well, it's so refreshing to hear that I don't post a negative, because in a world where it seems like almost weakness and everything, don't whatever at me on that, but it almost seems like rewarded. Everybody's brave for admitting their weak, kind of thing.
Right.
In a society that it seems like we're trending towards that, I adhere to the same thing. I don't post my bullshit. If I post something, I'm trying to make you laugh. I'm trying to make you happy.
Entertain,
it's a positive thing. I'll cut my fucking own head off before I come on and go, guys, things are tough. I'm really struggling with this.
Can you give me
That's
the
what I have this
shout-outs?
guy for. That's what I have our core circle for.
Right.
Those are the dudes I lean on. I will never put that in. The people that do put that out there, man, good luck, because you've only got so many of those before I unfollow you, because I'm not getting on Instagram to be bummed out. There's enough shit I have to wade through.
Yeah.
The bullshit that already makes me mad or whatever.
Right.
that When I'm trying to fuck with people that I fuck with, dude, I want the happiness stuff. And if you ever need me, call me, but don't put on your fucking stories.
I don't like the people that say, you know, say a prayer for me, and then they leave it open-ended. You're like, what happened? You know, and then people's like, oh, prayers, thoughts and prayers, you know.
Is it AIDS?
You know, and then come to find out she's had a bad day. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. You know, I'm not
It's a cry for attention. Yeah.
I'm not posting. I'm not wasting any prayer for you. No.
Yeah,
If your kid's got cancer, yes, I will say something. But other than that, nope. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just rough, man. But yeah, like, people don't understand that. And same thing, like, they see your life now. They don't see the 25, 30 years before social media. They don't see everything you've done. They just see the highlight reel of now, right?
Right.
The mature adult who's got some shit figured out. Mm-hmm. That's not the same. Like, these kids don't get that. Like, they want to look like this now, and it's just not. It's impossible. I mean, you know, painters. I deal with this all the time. People want to fast track to a career, and I mean, some people can pick it up quick because there's a lot more information to get the skills down now. But nothing replaces time. 10,000 hours, dude. Start soon as you can on whatever you want to be great at.
How long have you been painting?
Since I've been in the paint and body industry my whole life, since 15.
Okay. Yeah.
But
So
as a custom painter, it's 18 years.
That's a lot of experience that you only get by doing.
Yeah.
You know, or training under somebody who has that experience. You know.
Exactly. And people don't. I think the one thing that younger people don't care for or think this is important is mentors.
Right.
You know, whether it's life as being a man, a woman, whatever, or, you know, a skill or trade or work. And I feel like I never really thought of it either, but like I've definitely placed certain people in my life, male figures, father figures that I might have looked up to, and kind of subsequently made those guys the people that I adopted as my, you know, mentors, if you will.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
that's one of the most important things. Like, there's nothing bad about saying like, oh man, this guy mentored me. Like, people need that
More than they know it.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
you know, my dad passed away probably 7 years ago, and I considered him a mentor, you know, and you know, he's always taught me, like, if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. Don't half-ass it. Don't spend cheap money on cheap parts, because you're going to eventually buy the regular part anyway and spend it. So I learned all that from him, and I love the fact that I had that opportunity from him.
Yeah.
You know, I got other buddies that, you know, they didn't have a father in their life, and you know, and they missed out on so much. But what I admire about them now is they're using that, the experience they didn't get, but you're using that to deal with their own kids and making up for it. So everybody needs a mentor. You know, you have to. You can't
Definitely
go.
do.
It's hard to go about this life on your own. You know, I mean, you need help, and I'm not ashamed sometimes if I've
had mentors through social media, straight up, like guys that I've leaned in on that's helped me out, you know, mentally through tough times and shit like that. So it's really important that people accept. I mean, some of it can come off as like, all right, dude, you're preaching to me or some shit like that. But you know, when you actually do curate some type of friendship with someone, you actually do have real talks or real conversations you can gain from that.
And you need that, you know, because you don't realize, I think a lot of people don't realize, like, some words of encouragement from even a perceived stranger or just an internet friend can speak volumes for, you know, and really motivate you, you know, and you know, it's like all these motivational workout places. I follow a lot of them, and you know, and if I'm feeling down, I'll pull up one of the videos of this guy just going ape shit and working out and like motivating his clients.
It does the job.
And I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I'm all fired up now. You know, I needed that, and I appreciate that they put that out there. But we need mentors.
Well, Jerry, we got to stop.
I'm good.
We're good.
I got to go home.
Me too. I got to find a home tonight. No, I think my wife's dad's like, hey, dude.
The dinner's getting cold.
Yeah.
We got 3.5 minutes. I got one question. Jerry, you're a guy. You know a lot of people. You have that kind of personality where you just happen to, people want to know you. I got one question. We're in Huntington Beach. We already stayed in San Luis Obispo, which is the hometown of one of my UFC favorites. This is another town. Do you know the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz?
I've met him a couple times. I've talked to him, but I don't really know him.
Know him, but you know of him. Of course, he knows you. He knows you because you're you.
He would hang out downtown all the time, down on Main Street, and he's a big man. You don't realize how big he is. His head is like a buffalo head. It's Tatanka. I think is massive. And you know, and he's, every time I've had any dealings with him, he's been super cool. You know, he's you know, he's a nice guy. He
seems cool if you don't piss him off.
Yeah, you just don't piss him off.
Yeah.
You know, don't be that dummy.
You don't have to fight him. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to run. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that my cardio is better than his. So I can outrun his ass, because if he catches me, it's over.
Yeah.
But you know, every time I've run into him, he's been super cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you for doing the podcast. Thank you for opening up the gym.
Rise above.
Rise above. Yeah.
You're welcome.
One day.
I appreciate it. Yeah, get your ass back in the gym.
One day. Yeah. Maybe September. Well, thank you for real. Everybody go follow the Goo on Instagram. He's not on Facebook anymore, right?
No, sir.
Because fuck Facebook, right?
Fuck it. Horrible.
Right. Thanks, bud.
All right. Good night, guys.
Yo, hope you guys enjoyed that. I can't thank Jerry enough for sitting down and opening up the gym. Not for us to work out, but so we can talk it out and find out more about him and his life, doing what he does for a living, and just being around the motorcycle scene. He's been a great follow for the last couple of years on my end. I've enjoyed watching his content on social media, and even loved getting to know this man even more through a podcast. So if you guys enjoy these podcasts, you know what to do. Check out our sponsors at the beginning of the episodes. There's a lot of great ones on there to help you get with your bike and what you need for the road. So check them out. And don't forget about our Patreon, where we drop unreleased content every month, and working on creating more of that type of content for you guys every month. We're just trying to do some more shit. And that's kind of our lifeline of this podcast. It's what gives us the opportunity to do a lot more travels, to get more guests on these shows, and keep it more frequent and regular. So thank you guys. You guys have a great next couple of days, and then we're dropping the Danny G podcast this Friday. We'll see you guys then. Have a good one. Peace.